Yeah,
Content is
that's my thing.
Yeah, see, John D does that for me. But episode 20 of season 2 of the Hoop Talk podcast. We are 7 minutes late, 8 minutes late, but we're allowed to be late when we have a special guest. We are joined by someone who is a friend of the channel. Been a long time since he's been here. But we are joined by Legend of Winning, aka Lo. Long time no see on the pod, Lo. How you been?
I have not said that intro in a very long time.
Yeah,
Legend of Winning, aka Lo. Wow. You are a fan, man. You big fan, man.
Yeah, huge fan, man. Huge fan. What can I say? But yeah, how you been? Very long time since you've been on the pod. I can't remember the last time you was here. Well, the one.
It's probably been like a year. No, that probably maybe a little bit longer than that too. To be honest with you.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not good at my job considering I'm pretty sure that might be my most viewed video. But that's besides the point. Actually, no, you fourth. You don't really got motion like that. You fourth.
Who number one? Oh,
I think number one is actually our original collab with Nerd Sesh. Yeah, Nerd Sesh clear.
Yeah, we hit 30K on that one.
So yeah, Nerd Sesh clear you. Then we just got one where it was just me and my old co-host Dream. We did better than you. Then the Luca trade beat you.
That makes sense.
So then you're fourth.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you're fourth. And Chilltown is fifth. Shout out to Chilltown. Might be a special guest soon. But anyway, enough of the pleasantries and the fact that Lo doesn't carry my channel. We are here doing our end of season awards. The NBA regular season does end tomorrow if you're watching this live. Or April 13th if you're watching it after the fact. So I think we're at the point where we can fairly say we have our awards in order. I don't think the last game of the season is going to change all too much. So I thought better time than ever to get into our awards before we get into the postseason. We did this at the midway point. Me and John D did this, but Lo, you are going to be here with us for this. And I think the best place to start is with the awards that people want us to get out of the way. So, John D, who was your rookie of the year?
I went back and forth between Zachary Reese-Sachet, Stephon Castle, and Jalen Wells. And I really value Jalen Wells' ability to be a point of attack defender on a contending team or a playoff team in the Memphis Grizzlies. I definitely don't want to say contending team. But I really valued Stephon Castle's ability to drive to the lane, finish around the rim, adjust his body around the rim when he does finish and finish around a bunch of taller players. So I also considered Alex Sarr for a cool minute because I said earlier, if you have like a 10-game stretch as a rookie, you're now front runner to win Rookie of the Year. So it's a little different this year, but I ended up going with Stephon Castle because I really buy into the defense and the finishing around the rim and the improved playmaking.
I also have Stephon Castle. I'm gonna say that I have Stephon Castle. Zachary Reese-Sachet, I do think has come on late in the season. Well, not even late in the season, like the last half of the season or so. I do think he's made a very compelling case. I think he just had like 38 the other night. Really like a lot of what he does away from the ball. His shot has really come around second half of the season, like I alluded to. That was his big selling point coming in. Just his ability to relocate, play in transition, really just do the little things. I think he's like the prototypical role player in year one. Now, obviously, as a rookie, it's hard to be like uber impactful towards winning or have like above league average true shooting. I'm not expecting that from a rookie. So that's why I went with Stephon Castle. I just think the burden he had on this Spurs team, being a creator, being someone who had to create for himself and others, his skill set getting downhill, his athleticism, his ability to play with pace, are all things that I valued a lot, along with being a very good defender, especially for a rookie. I do think he's just done enough to be my Rookie of the Year. So 2 people have Stephon Castle as the Rookie of the Year. Lo, are you going to make it a clean sweep?
Yeah, but I will say this. Shout out to Jalen Wells. I'm surprised that you brought him up because I personally feel like there's not enough people discussing the fact that he kind of stepped in and was giving pivotal minutes to a team that's in the playoffs, playing very impactful minutes. And I think that a lot of the numbers that he provides aren't going to show up in the box score on points, rebounds, and assists. But every single time when I watch him, I'm actually fairly impressed. He holds himself with a level of composure that does not display of one that is a rookie. And I agree, defensively is where he kind of really shines. Quality 3-point shooter for a team that kind of needs that from time to time outside of Bane. And, when, Ja is certainly not shooting well. And then you have Edie, like the lack of spacing on that team was desperately needed. I was actually fairly impressed with Jalen Wells every single time I watched him. And I also agree, Reese-Sachet kind of came on a little bit too late potentially. I do think, however, to be fair to Ricochet, the reason why it may be interesting is because his ceiling was probably higher than Castle in the second half of the season. But I think the consistency of Castle kind of put it over the top for me because it was practically from start to finish.
Post,
I mean, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. No, you got it.
Post Wemby going down, he's averaging 18, 5, and 5. So he's really stepped up as like a lead ball handler, lead playmaker, just getting downhill consistently. Inside the arc, he's around 52%, if that helps. So I think he's been really good. And as for Ricochet, there's a lot of things with Ricochet's game that I see the potential of him being extremely impactful, especially playing somebody next to somebody like Trae Young, who just manufactures easy looks for guys that can play well off ball. He's really good in transition. I think he fills lanes really good in transition. The jump shot is continuing to get better. And earlier in the season, I thought he was like one of the worst finishers in the league, and he couldn't put the ball on the floor as well. So now that we're getting towards the end of the season, he's starting to attack closeouts more, finish around the rim a little bit more aggressively. I'm not gonna lie, I had Ricochet written down. I just changed it before I hopped on. So
I mean,
No.
there's no rules stopping you from doing that. I want to shout out to the bigs. I think Donovan Clingan has been really impactful defensively for the
Yeah.
Blazers. Offensively, leaves a lot to be desired. I do like some of his passing, and he's willing to shoot threes for some reason. But he does foul a little bit too much for me. So the fouling problems, I do think, kept him out of this, along with the offensive limitations. Alex Sarr just way too raw offensively for me to be the rookie of the year, but I do like a lot of what he does defensively, being able to switch, being able to protect the rim. And then Khalil Ware had a stretch in the season where
Khalil Ware was crazy that stretch. I was
he looked like he was making a push. It did kind of
oh my god,
it tailed off a little bit, so he's not going to quite make the cut for me. But Khalil Ware was definitely someone who intrigued me for that small period of time.
That stretch was fucking ridiculous.
Jared McCain was probably going to win the award.
Facts.
Definitely unfortunate for him. But I do
think that stretch real quick with Zachary Ricochet, that's like kind of underselling right now. Since basically from February till now, 67 in the restricted, 50 on mids, 52 on left corner, 41 in right corner, and 38 above the break. So the jump shot shooting is like it's a real jump
I think he's averaging about 15 in that stretch as well. 15.
Yes, 15. Yep.
And he's been. Now, strength is an issue. Like, he's not physically able to like deal with physicality, but he does compete on defense. I do think he's viable on that side of the ball, especially for a Hawks team that when Jalen Johnson went down, they really only had one defender, who we'll probably talk about later. But I do think Zachary Ricochet is building himself to be like an S-tier role player. Not an all-star, but an all-star in his role. And I think that's a great thing for the Atlanta Hawks to have. But anyway, now that the Rookie of the Year is out of the way, I'm sure not many people were here for that. The sixth man of the year. Lo, who is your sixth man of the year?
At first, I was a bit up in the air on back and forth, especially because I don't really think there's that many options. I'm probably I'm probably going to lean. I want to because I think B-Pod just played too many games. I mean, he's a starter. I think like half of his season was as a starter this year.
Yeah.
I think that kind of because originally I was just going to say B-Pods because I think B-Pods, especially as of late, I don't know if y'all been like checking him.
He's been back from injury, yeah.
Yeah, as of late, it's actually been like very, very impressive. I gotta give credit to B-Pods. You know, I was a little shaky on him, and I actually just believe that he's probably best utilized coming off the bench anyway. And as like this, passer and playmaker coming off the bench, and he's been significantly more aggressive. However, I think as of late, if I'm not mistaken, that's when he kind of kicked in as a starter. So I think that kind of took him out. But if I can't use B-Pods, which I kind of want to just write down B-Pods, who did I have second after that? Was it? I think it was either B-Pods or Anthony Black.
Oh, Anthony Black. Oh, wow. Didn't expect that.
The reason why for Black had a lot to do with just because of the defensive side of the floor, and also just adding in a level. I think the consistency, because with Banchero and what's his name out for a good portion of the season, um,
France.
Franz, yeah, with them being out for the good portion of the season, I actually did like a lot of things that he was providing for the team. Really on both sides of the floor, a little bit better as a playmaker, and kind of providing what he got out of everything that he was given in terms of opportunities, holding up the defensive identity of the team while still providing a level of playmaking that this team desperately needed all season long. Kind of disappointing in KCP what he provided, but a lot of the games in which I saw the Black, he was actually really, really solid. Um, I see some people saying Ty Jerome. I kind of feel like, if I'm not mistaken, I feel like that team kind of wins on committee off the bench. But Ty Jerome also had a really high ceiling as well. So shout out to Ty Jerome. But I definitely
I
thought
like,
they were going to call it. But
I
I
like
did, to
the
be fair, I had B Pods winning at first. But looking at it, double checking right now, he's definitely came off the bench as of late.
didn't expect to hear Anthony Black. Definitely interesting. I am high on Anthony Black, so I'm definitely not mad at the selection. Surprised you didn't go with one of the more
Safe picks?
Yeah, surprised you didn't go with one of the safe picks.
I think Ty Jerome is really good. I just feel like that team wins by committee, because like even when Ty Jerome is on the floor, he's always on the floor with like somebody else as a starter, because they stagger the minutes between what's his name. So I feel like they're like, not to poo poo on Ty Jerome, but I feel like that doesn't really I think that Anthony Black out in in Orlando had a lot of responsibility offensively when they were both out, and I think he handled it way better than people kind of give him credit for.
John D, who's your sixth man of the year?
I took the safe pick. I went with DeAndre Hunter. Hunter off the bench.
That's the safe pick? I feel like Ty Jerome is the safe pick.
I mean, the fact that the Cavs have two candidates is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy. Yeah.
Like the 21 Jazz. But yeah, go ahead, make the case for DeAndre Hunter.
I just feel as though DeAndre Hunter is going to be extremely viable in the playoffs with his size and his defense and his 3-point shooting, to where I feel as though Ty Jerome's size may be a problem against certain teams that they're going to be going up against in the Eastern Conference Finals if everything goes correctly. I also think as a shooter in Cleveland, he shot about 43% from three on about 5 or 6 attempts off the bench. He can play really well with the starting five and can also play really well with the bench. You can put him in multiple different lineups. We saw the same thing with Atlanta, where he was averaging 19 points per game there. So my big board was like Malik Beasley, Peyton Pritchard, those guys. But I think Peyton Pritchard and Malik Beasley could get played off the floor in a postseason, or at least Peyton Pritchard can. I think Malik Beasley just being like the second scoring option for the Detroit Pistons and giving them that shooting that they need would have given him a good case for sixth man of the year, but I went with DeAndre Hunter.
I mean, I think Amen Thompson was going to win this if he didn't get inserted into the starting lineup, and I'm fairly confident in saying that, but he's been starting for 2/3 of the season now. I contemplated between Peyton Pritchard and Malik Beasley. Those were the two names I contemplated with. I think what Malik Beasley has done off the bench for Detroit has been nothing short of amazing. He's made 300 threes this season, 40+% from three. Now, I understand he's a limited player. There's not much outside of the jump shooting. But when you go to a team that was maybe the worst shooting team in the NBA before you got there, and you provide that level of floor spacing, that level of shooting, that's extremely valuable. So I'm extremely high on Malik Beasley. Peyton Pritchard, I think, is another one where he's able to make pull-up threes at a high clip. He's shooting like 8 threes a game, 40%. Elite shooter, able to handle the ball, get downhill. Just a real nice offensive piece off the bench. Ty Jerome is someone else who I considered. I don't know the rules on sixth man of the year. I don't know if you have to play 20 minutes per game or whatever the case, like the other awards. And I know Ty Jerome hasn't played 20 minutes per game. So that kind of gave me some hesitation. But I do think he's been amazing off the bench too as a playmaker, getting downhill. His floater is automatic, can shoot the ball really well, play on and off ball. So those are like my three main candidates. And I'm going to go with... I have Peyton Pritchard written down, so I'm going to stay with Peyton Pritchard. So I'm going to have Peyton Pritchard as my sixth man of the year, Malik Beasley and Ty Jerome as my runners-up.
Quick question on Beasley, because this is I have like a not like an issue, but like a question. because like the idea, and I can't remember who they did this for not too long ago. I feel like they used to do it for Lamar Odom back in the day. Like, are you really a 6-man if you just come off the bench
and then you play starters?
You just play starting minutes and you play alongside the stars. Like I fuck with Malik Beasley, but it's kind of similar to Ty Jerome, where it's like you were spending a lot of minutes basically with a lot of starters on the floor with you. You are basically a fucking starter. Like your role alongside Cade, your role alongside the other starters. You benefit.
Tim Hardaway Jr. on like.
That's what I'm saying. Like what are we doing? Like is Beasley? I know he's not the starter, but like. You know what I'm saying? But I
get what you're saying. I didn't really factor that in. I just looked at if you're coming off the bench, you're coming off the bench.
Nah, facts.
But I mean, like that is a fair point. Like if you're playing starters minutes off the bench,
yeah,
and like you kind of are a start, like you're a de facto starter.
Yeah,
but I think maybe that's what the 6 Man of the Year award, well, the 6 Man of the Year is. It's like you're practically a starter, but you're off the bench. Like maybe that's, I don't know. Maybe I do need to factor that in. Just that.
Yeah.
Like, is it meant to be for a pure bench player, or is it meant to be for a player who comes off the bench but gives you starter level minutes and impact? I don't know. I did go with Peyton Pritchard though, so I guess I don't have to worry too much about my decision because Peyton Pritchard. How many minutes does Peyton Pritchard play? You got me now questioning all my picks.
Yeah, I'm looking at
Peyton Pritchard plays 28 minutes a game as well. Nah, but I'm gonna stand on Peyton Pritchard. Yeah, I think
you can stand on it. I'm not trying to knock anybody. I've just always, because they used to do the same with Odom, and I was like Bynum is just he's like a starter, but like we play way more minutes with Odom and Powell in the front court than Bynum and Powell, and I always kind of felt that way.
Yeah, it definitely does make sense. I mean, Manu Ginobili is like,
yeah, Ginobili's another example. Yeah. Like Jason Terry's another example where it's like, nigga, like. Y'all close games. Y'all close games with these niggas. Like we know like they're not which guy, but I've always felt it. I just feel like Black when I was watching them in those games in which they tapered off, and I'm not trying to throw Paolo underneath the bus, but like when he came back, they were somehow worse. I feel like in those stretches, a lot of which they won by they were still winning games when Paolo was gone, and I think a lot of it has to do with like I was very impressed every single time I was watching them play. That Black was like, oh no, he's coming out of the bench and he's like providing a lot of value to what this team is looking for while still upholding their defensive identity. But I know that's like a very, unorthodox selection.
Yeah, I haven't heard anyone say Anthony Black, but I'm definitely not mad at it because I really do like Anthony Black and what he brings to the table. My only issue with him is that on a team that can't shoot, he's also part of
he's
nucleus. So that's my biggest concern with him. But like, really good feel for the game. Really nice defensively, good size. He's like 6'7". Yeah. I like Anthony Black. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with Peyton Pritchard. Shout out to Peyton Pritchard. This one is gonna be interesting because I definitely have an unorthodox pick for this award.
Most improved?
Yeah, most improved.
Yeah. This is the same shit where I'll be questioning like, what the fuck what does this award mean actually?
Yeah, I'm definitely on the side of I think the most improved award is for a certain subsection of players, not the players that seem to be winning the awards. But before I say who I have as my most improved player, John Z, who is your most improved player?
So I've been in between two players that I've been debating with myself who I should pick. I have Austin Reeves as one, and I have Deni Avdija as the other. I think those two are two guys who've been playing really good basketball. If we take a look at February, and haven't talked about Deni all year, so this is where I'm going to get this off. Since February 1st, he's been averaging 20 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists, also shooting 40% from 3 on 5 attempts. The way he's able to grab and go, get rebounds, and play in transition and attack the rim, and also be such a great connective passer, attacking the rim off closeouts, those type of things, especially for a Trailblazers team that most likely like play make off committee and have some really good play finishers like Donovan Clingan, like a Scoot Henderson that can finish around the rim off cuts and things of that nature. I think Deni Avdija is really viable. But if we talk about Austin Reeves, the way he's been able to adjust his game, not like necessarily, but to fit around LeBron and Luka, who are two ball dominant players, and be able to have the ball control and off ball shot making ability and playmaking ability that he has made improvements off of, and to average 25-5 on this Lakers team. I think both of these guys are really good candidates for most improved player. You also have guys like Christian Brown, who's gotten better as a transition player. I don't know who I'm gonna pick though. I don't know who I'm gonna pick. Like, my bias is telling me just go with Austin Reeves and we call it a day. So that's what I'm
If
gonna
you
do.
want to go with Austin Reeves, go with Austin Reeves. I don't think you might not be alone the way Lowe's smiling, but if you want to go with Austin Reeves, go with Austin Reeves.
Because Mars, because you know what I've been through. People say, "Oh, this guy's not a real Lakers fan. He doesn't have us going to the finals. He's not a real Lakers fan." You know what? I'm gonna go with Austin Reeves.
Okay, Austin Reeves is right, Reeves. Lo, you look quite happy. Is Austin Reeves your most improved player?
Yeah, I agree. He's the most improved player. To be fair, I'm not too familiar with Denny's game, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I know the field accordingly. But I feel like the numbers for Reeves don't do his development improvement justice. We're talking about a player where, first of all, if Kay Cunningham gets his fucking award, I'm gonna be pissed. But I think that in essence of what improvement actually is, we're talking about undrafted prospect who really battled with the idea of what he was supposed to be on the roster. A lot of that stemmed from last year when Darvin Ham benched him early on, and he came into the season with a lot of prioritization from JJ Redick. A lot of people had skepticism behind it, and even early on the season, the fit was still a little bit wonky with him and D'Lo. But since they traded DFS, and this is even before they got Luka, he's been amazing. I think it's from February 1st to where we are right now. It's 23-5-5 to go. The season average is 25-5 basically, or 25-6. But from February 1st to where we are now, 23-5-5, shooting splits of, I want to say it was 48, 39, 91, a true shooting percentage of 64.8 to be precise. And again, I don't even think those numbers really do it justice. Like Johnny said, it's the ability to fit alongside any situation that they're asking out of him, regardless if it's him handling the offense on his own in games in which LeBron, Luka, and even when AD was not available, the Pacers game was a perfect example of that. Or if you just need him to fit in a tight squeeze alongside LeBron and Luka in certain moments, that's great as well. And I think the more important aspect of it is people are like throwing around this label of him being a third option. Sidebar, if you've been watching the Lakers, especially in these last 10 games, I don't know if he actually is a third option. I think there's several moments where he is, he should be prioritizing. He looks better than LeBron and even sometimes Luka in certain instances. And I think that is true growth and development. As an on-ball creator, I think the biggest gripe that a lot of people have for him is that his game was a little too slow, wasn't getting downhill, kind of stuck in the mid-range area, which is nice, looks good. But now his on-ball development from behind the arc and creation, I think he's shooting like plus 35, plus 36% off the dribble, pull up threes again since February into where we are now. And just his passing and playmaking has improved immensely as well. So every aspect of his game offensively has improved, and I think also defensively he's better than he was last year as well.
Since we're already here, let me just keep going real fast. When we played Boston in Boston, Luka and LeBron just couldn't get anything going against Al Horford. I felt as though AR-15 had the ball handle and the speed to really attack that matchup, and they just didn't do it. They were like, "Okay, Luka, you're just gonna half-ass isolation against Al Horford. And he's gonna lock you up 2-3 times." AR got whatever he wanted against Al Horford like 2-3 times in a row, and we never went back to it. So it
was the same thing with Vooch in the Chicago game. Both LeBron and Luka could not get by Vooch. It was blowing my mind. I think LeBron only got one quality look. Luka settled twice on a shot on Vooch. Reeves was able to get by Vooch multiple times, create multiple advantages. Also, he's picking up a lot of the stampede looks as well. Earlier in his career, he was like way too stagnant off the catch. Now he's doing a lot more stampeding as well to kind of catch people off the dribble. That's how he actually got that look off of on the inbound pass right off Pat Wills. He immediately went and go. There's a lot of nuances to his game that is developed that may not ever show up in the scoreboard. To be fair, I'm pretty sure the same thing goes for Denny. I don't want to make it seem like it's not. But that brother's nice, man. That brother's nice.
I forgot about the implications of doing this with two Lakers fans. I really forgot about
that brother's nice.
I do like that both of you guys kind of stands with me on this on the most improved player awards. Yeah, I don't think it should be Cade. That's not to knock Cade, and I do think he has gone better from last year. But I do think to the degree that people seem to believe is just wrong. I just don't think they watched the Pistons win 14 games last year and didn't see what Cade was already doing, especially the second half of last season.
Yes.
But I think Denny Avdia is a good player to recognize. I'm also of the belief that Denny's been like this, he didn't really make my consideration, but glad to see him get some praise. I did have Austin Reeves number 2. Austin Reeves was my second choice.
So
but I did follow. I did follow a kind of similar blueprint. My most improved player is Ivica Zubac.
I don't hate that. I like that.
And the reason why is because he went from someone who was a solid but flawed starting center last season, and he has become one of the dominant rim protectors in the sport.
Yes.
One of the most impactful defenders in the sport, while simultaneously becoming one of the best mismatch attackers. Excellent floater game, really good post scorer, really good in the short roll. He's become a viable offensive weapon while being one of the most impactful defensive players in the sport. And this is a year after many people were questioning, is Zubac even a winning player? Because of his defensive shortcomings, because offensively his hands were bad, because his touch wasn't great, because he couldn't really make reads out of double teams. And then this year, you're seeing all of that development. Now, we still got to bring the playmaking along, but still an elite screen setter, still elite attacking mismatches, one of the best hook shots in the NBA. When I talk about improvement, I think taking that leap from solid starter to legitimate all-star caliber impact, all defensive caliber impact, I do think is enough for me to say he's my most improved player, slightly above Austin Reeves, just because I think the value of what Zoo has done this season for the Clippers, I think he's a large part of the reason why the Clippers have been as good as they've been all season long. His malleability, being able to complement Kawhi when Kawhi comes back, and he's catching the rhythm, so Zoo's touches go down offensively, but he's still able to anchor an elite defense. And also his value as a rebounder. He's been probably the best rebounder in the sport this year, maybe top 3 at worst. So yeah, I'm really high on Zoo. So he's my most improved player pick, with Austin Reeves being my number 2. But definitely glad to see that none of us went with like someone who's just very obviously already that guy.
Before we move on, a couple of real most improved players: CJ McCollum, Lauri Markkanen. Would you say Jimmy Butler? I would say Jimmy Butler that year.
Yes, I would.
Jimmy Butler.
So off the top of my head, those are the kind of caliber of most improved players I would think of. Some of them I wouldn't. Ja Morant, Tyrese Maxey. Those are the type of most
people had Wemby winning it.
And if Wemby, and I would be pissed if Wemby walked.
People had Wemby winning it. That would have been a disgrace.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a believer in the real most improved player award. Bring back the sanctity of the award when Aaron Brooks was winning it. That's what the most improved player award should be. But I think it's likely Cade's gonna win it. I also think Dyson Daniels has a very strong case to win it as well. So there's options. Also, there was a super chat I actually want to get to. Alan Noah said Austin Reeves or Christian Brown should win it. So we've got the Austin Reeves side. Christian Brown is another worthy candidate in my opinion.
Yeah, I brought him up.
He's improved as an outside shooter, mightily improved as a transition player. I do think his decision making has got better.
I think a lot of that was there already, in my opinion. I think
he's just been unlocked. I do think he has been given more opportunity in KCP's absence. And I tried to not make the most improved player award the just who got more opportunity awards. Like Norman Powell for me is not really a candidate because Norman Powell just got more opportunity in my eyes. He didn't just become a substantially better player. But guys like Austin Reeves, guys like Zoo, those are guys who I genuinely think have just gotten substantially better. So that's why they are my candidates.
And to be fair, I was high on Brown before the season started, so that's why I'm not like I don't think it was improved. I agree. I think he was already poised to be the player that he is right now. The 3-point shooting, to be fair, I think I had a bit question if it was sustainable. And I think that even some of it is kind of fake because the volume isn't really matching it. It's still around 2 or 3 a game. But a lot of what he does, like his athleticism, like how he runs in transition, you can clearly see like shades of that when in half-court sets with him and Jokic last year or even a year prior when he's kind of cutting and diving to the basket. So I think a lot of that was kind of already
He's a guard shooting 58% from the field. I didn't know that. I didn't know he was shooting 58%.
But how many of those are basically,
cuts to the rim?
Well, transition points. Yeah, I mean, transition and cuts. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's definitely a reason why he's 58% of the field.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it seem like he's just getting shea buckets. He's definitely not. But 58% from the field is still quite impressive. And he is 40% from three now. Teams are daring him to shoot, and he's
yeah.
So there's a lot of context to it, but I do think he has improved, and he definitely has maximized his opportunity offensively. Defensively, I do think there's still a way to go in terms of being a screen navigator more than just an isolation defender. But definitely a worthy candidate in my opinion, just not as much as the other two. And also, I do think Denny is actually a good shout. The next one, this is one that I struggled with. I want to know where you guys went with it. This one is Coach of the Year. I'm gonna go with Lo. Who's your Coach of the Year?
Nah, we're gonna be nasty and make it JJ Redick, but I ain't gonna.
I'm about to do it.
Wow! No, that's we might
have to end the stream.
Yeah, we're gonna have to end it. We're gonna have to end it.
He's not my Coach of the Year, but I'm definitely gonna talk about him. I'm definitely gonna talk.
And he should be talked about. But I mean, it's Kenny Atkinson. I think Kenny Atkinson should win it. Shout out to Mark out in OKC. I think he also has done a really great job. But I think a lot of that was kind of there as well. I think also Coach of the Year is also kind of the who surprised you the most award as well. Who's been able to, I think that's kind of what it evolved into. But I think the reason why I give a lot of credit to Kenny, not only the staggering of D Mitch, Mobley, Garland, and Allen, or however they decide to stagger. But I think this version of Mobley, him unlocking that version of Mobley, kind of playing that pseudo Draymond Green role a lot of times at half-court offense, kind of finding a way to properly space with both Mobley and Allen on the floor with one another, which is a massive question, a lot of which has to do with him just putting the ball in Mobley's hands and allowing him to be the ball handler, passer, playmaker, being a bit more aggressive in certain moments. And then obviously just kind of maximizing everybody else, kind of knowing where they need to be. I think the true question of him as a coach will come into question and be really challenged in the postseason. But I think, getting the most out of Mobley, DG really means the world to a team that I felt like at times last year overextended themselves in terms of like how much they relied on Donovan Mitchell. And I don't feel like that's going to be the same problem heading into this postseason. And I think that's what truly unlocked them from being for at least with me projecting to be a 50-win team until a 60-win team, and at times this season, like on pace to be just one of the better teams in NBA history. So I think that I give it to Kenny right there.
Mobley, another sneaky most improved candidate.
Yes, he was. I made the argument in PCL.
Yeah, but you lost in the PCL. Sorry. Who's your coach? Who's your coach of the year, Joe?
I had Kenny Atkinson, and coming into this season, I was really glad to see that Kenny Atkinson just didn't put Evan Mobley in the corner and hope that he can hit a three. Last season, the Cleveland Cavaliers were the second worst offense in the playoffs, and that was only second to the Orlando Magic. And it felt like a lot of it was a lot of Donovan Mitchell-centric pick and rolls, diving to the rim with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley and things of that nature. Now that you're getting Evan Mobley more action with the ball in his hand, attacking mismatches, finishing around the rim, playing in transition, I think the fact that he just elevated this offense, especially by taking the ball out of your best player's hands as much as he did while getting probably the best output of offense out of the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think that was extremely impressive. But I do have to talk about JJ Redick because I can't do it. I can't do it. See, Mars, this is the problem. Another Lakers fan, it puts a battery in my back. JJ Redick, man, to start the season, I saw some questionable things defensively, going up against the San Antonio Spurs with Victor Wembanyama and then switching everything and then constantly getting Austin Reeves on Victor Wembanyama 3 feet away from the basket. That was disgusting. That was disgusting. But we have done some things to AD, Jokic, and SGA that I really, really liked. Against OKC, we were cutting off so many driving lanes for SGA. Now, SGA is such a great player that he just made the mid-range shots, but we cut off a lot of driving lanes. We cut off a lot of driving lanes with guys like Rui, DFS, Jackson Hayes immediately helping more off into the rim and cutting off those driving lanes. Against Jokic, we did really well by just not letting him get the ball, fronting him, and then having somebody backline for help. We did the same thing against Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis is not the post player that Nikola Jokic is, and he really struggled. So defensively, the fact that JJ can have a team that doesn't have the best defensive personnel to get them to lock in like this, and I'm not talking about guys that just may need a little push to lock in. I'm talking about guys like Luka Doncic, who has trouble locking in defensively, and he's looked locked in these big games. He's looked really locked in defensively in these big games. AR, Bron, I just had to talk about JJ because, I believe, man. I believe.
Ever since that Miami game, that abysmal Miami game, the team has been significantly better, and that has been the aspect of JJ's game. I mean, or JJ's coaching that has noticeably improved. The first part of the season, defensively, we were just relying way too much on switching, like way too much on switching, and overextending Anthony Davis way too much. But as soon as JJ started implementing zones, shading over, doubling a lot more, fronting, and coming with backline help, especially with bigs when we're playing smaller lineups.
I believe.
And he's doing it in the middle of games now too. He's like adjusting it as the game progresses. Bro, I can't lie, I'm impressed.
Bro, if JJ can get like JJ's gonna get like a 7-game series to really figure out like, okay, we are going to take this player out of the game. You
guys are gonna give me a migraine. Jesus. Before I give my coach of the year pick, I said this a while ago. I think coaching is the hardest thing for fans to analyze. We don't know what these coaches are doing. We don't know who's responsible for what on the coaching staff. A lot of things that's just we don't really know. And the coach of the year award just does tend to be just which team surprised you the most. Let's give the coach the credit for it. Which is why I think a lot of people have JB Bickerstaff winning coach of the year, and I'm not as high on him as a lot of people. With all that being said, before I talk about what you guys said about JJ Redick, my coach of the year was between 3 people. Kenny Atkinson was one of them, who you guys have already spoke about. Yeah. Mark Dagnott was another one who I think, I'm not going to say he's a victim of voter fatigue, but he did win it last year, and I'm not sure many people have won it back to back. And Ime Udoka, who I think
shout out to Ime,
amazing. Yeah. So maybe this is my time to be biased. I don't know.
Yes. Go and do it, man. Go and do it.
I think what Ime Udoka has done by what anyone would agree is a flawed roster, young roster.
Yes.
Finding a way to make them viable, not only offensively. I know the offense is flawed, but they found a way to be a top half offense. Now, there's context to it, but they found a way to do that. And defensively, very creative, very scheme aware, very smart in terms of not putting 2 on the ball, elite at defending the 3, don't give up the 3 ball very often at all. And then also finding a way to make a lineup in 2025 viable that includes Amen Thompson, Steven Adams, and Alperen Şengün.
Yes, it's crazy.
That's insane. That is 3 not non-shooters, 3 0 negative shooters, 3 guys who no one is guarding anywhere. Finding a way to make those lineups viable, not only viable, good,
really
is a testament to his coaching. Fully engaging in what makes the team great, which is offensive rebounding, which is defensive intensity. Extremely switchable, but able to be malleable with his lineups, whether that's going small with Jabari at the 5 or going to the double big lineups like I just alluded to. That flexibility within this roster. And then also, the Rockets are the 2 seed, and not just like the 2 seed on the technicality. They secured this 2 seed 3-4 games ago. Maybe like 2-3 games ago. Maybe I'm being a bit exaggerated.
You got the water?
Yeah, you definitely being a bit.
Oh, you on your Ashton Hall timing? Okay, interesting.
You bought it now. See, I gotta get some.
Yeah, no comment. But yeah, it's water to make that viable is just, I think that's a testament to his coaching. I know a lot of people question the half-court offense, and I don't think the half-court offense is great. But I mean, the solution to half-court offense struggles is to not turn the ball over and give yourself as many chances to score as possible. And Ime Udoka recognized that and then said, yeah, we're just going to turn into the best team in NBA history at rebounding our own misses. So we can miss as many shots as we want.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, we can miss as many shots as we want. If we keep rebounding our own misses, who cares that we missed? I mean, it's a foolproof plan. That the Rockets are number 1 in field goal attempts for a reason. That comes down to dominating the possession game. So I think Ime Udoka deserves a lot of credit for that. Also, a young team not being like bottom of the league in turnovers. That's a testament to Ime Udoka and his coaching. So I don't know if he's my number one. It's between him and Mark, personally.
Even over Kenny.
Yeah, for me, Kenny Atkinson, I think what he's done offensively has been amazing. And I do think maximizing Evan Mobley, he does get a lot of credit for that. I think Darius Garland is a bit less maximizing him and more so Darius Garland getting back to being healthy.
Yeah.
But I do think becoming one of the best pick and roll teams in the league, becoming one of the best cutting teams in the league, maximizing space in the way that Cleveland does is amazing. But then I look at the Oklahoma City Thunder being a top 10 defense of all time, top 2 net rating in NBA history. This is a team that has missed their best defender for more than half the season. This is a team that has missed Caruso for nearly 30 games, Hartenstein for nearly 30 games, and they've still managed to be an elite defense through all of that, whether that's J-Dub at the 5 lineups, whether that's having double bigs, single bigs. And then the biggest thing for me with Mark Daigneault is, and I use this point in my PCL debate, which I won. I'm in the final tomorrow. Go check it out.
Okay.
Yes. The biggest thing for me was that Oklahoma City early on struggled against zone. That was the thing. It was like, if you play a zone against OKC, they might struggle to execute, struggle to make shots out of it. And then they lost that Cleveland game. That's the only game they've lost against the Eastern Conference, by the way, 29-1. And then since that moment on, the Oklahoma City Thunder just decided to become the best team in the league at beating zone. Because he changed the people he has within the zone. He changed who he puts in the middle of the zone. Instead of just having guys spaced out to the corners, he has people roaming the baseline. Just all the counters he put in within that zone to make them go from a team that struggled against zone to be the best in the league at it. That's coaching to me, being able to navigate all the injuries and the roster up and downs that they've had. I don't think Cleveland have really had to deal with as much turmoil in terms of guys missing games as OKC. So that's why I favor Mark over Kenny, and Ime, I made the case. And I guess I'm going to go with bias. I'm going to go with Ime number 1, Mark number 2.
You gotta throw a little bias in there every now.
Yeah, I'll go with bias because Coach of the Year is, like I said, it's an award that it's hard for me to say what these coaches are even doing. Maybe Mark Daigneault's not even the mastermind behind all of this. Maybe his assistant coach is really the one who deserves all the credit. Maybe it's Nate McMillan who deserves the credit for what JJ Redick's doing defensively. I don't know. So I struggle with that. So
maybe it's just JJ.
Yeah, maybe it is, but I'm definitely not as high on JJ as you guys. I'll say that. So yeah, those guys would be my top 3. Ime, Mark, Kenny would be my top 3. I don't know where I'd go after that. Also, shout out to Jordi Fernandez. I know the Nets have won like 17 games or whatever they won. I don't know, but I do think Jordi Fernandez has done a good job in Brooklyn as well. So just a quick shout out to him. But yeah, that was fun.
As a sidebar, I do think it actually is a lot of the Lakers' assistants on the defensive side of the floor. To be fair.
So what does JJ Redick do in your opinion?
It's more offensive scheme and getting the most out of it.
I don't like his offensive scheme.
Oh, well, what now or when AD was there?
I mean, I probably preferred his offensive scheme when AD was there, but that's
when AD was there, I was like, oh man, he's getting the most out of everybody out here, man.
Yeah, I preferred it then. Now I'm not a big fan of the offensive scheme. So if JJ, and this one I said it's hard to know what they really do. If JJ is responsible for the offense and other people are responsible for the defense, I'm even lower on JJ Redick as a coach. But I don't know. I do think you guys are within your right to praise JJ Redick and his coaching staff. I mean, 50 wins, and you've made the biggest trade in NBA history mid-season. I mean, you do get some credit for that. So.
Yeah, we're not even going.
Hopefully, that's enough about the Lakers. Yeah,
we still got MVP.
Facts
and DPOY
and all defense first team.
Okay, if this is how it goes, we not even want to get to these awards because I'm not dealing with this for another hour or whatever. We do have a super chat before we move on. iOS Inc. said it'd be cool if we had an all NBA coach selections. We have so many great coaches right now with Mark Daigneault, Kenny, JJ Redick, Ime, JB, all had an argument for coach of the year. I mean, maybe if you could just do a top 5 coaches, but I think that would probably just be the order of coach of the year. Like, that's probably what it would be.
It probably would.
And then Rod said Kobe snubbed for MIP again, Kobe White. I don't think he really improved that much from last year to this year. I think last year he was my MIP.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah. But this year I don't think he's really improved that much. So
shout out to Kobe White though.
Yeah, I think he's amazing. Shout out to Josh Giddey putting up some crazy box score numbers as well. I see he's like him, Jokic, and like LeBron or something. Are the only ones to put up a certain stat line. I can't remember what it was, but anyway. On to these are the moments everyone's been waiting for. Before we get into MVP and DPOY, we do have to get through our All NBA and all defensive teams. So I'm gonna start with.
Okay.
I don't know who I'm gonna start with. I'm gonna start with John D. All NBA 13.
All NBA third team. Okay, we're starting with that
All
one.
NBA third team. Yes.
I have Cade Cunningham, Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, Karl Anthony Towns, and Jaren Jackson Jr. That is my All NBA third team.
So you said Cade Cunningham, Donovan Mitchell, James Harden,
Yep.
and who?
Jaren Jackson Jr. and Karl Anthony Towns.
Jaren Jackson and Cat. Okay, that's an interesting third team. Lo, who do you have in your third team?
Now, I will say I did not prepare all NBA teams. I thought we're just doing individual awards.
Oh, you are not locked in. I mean, I could have told you that, but I also thought it went without saying. But I guess
Yeah. But I can piece it down real quick. Let me go. Let me see. No, starting from third up top is crazy. You might have to.
We'll circle back to you once we get. I mean, I think it's fair. I can assume your first team has at least 4 names on it. I think that's fair.
Yeah, the first team is easy.
Yeah. Okay, I'll say my third team, and then we'll circle back to you once we get to first team, and you can work your way down. My third team had Tyrese Halliburton, Karl Anthony Towns. Yeah, I'm struggling. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and I'm gonna go with Triple J, but I'm not 100% sold on that. I'm gonna go with Triple J. That's my All NBA third team. So Tyrese Halliburton, Karl Anthony Towns, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and Triple J.
Any tough cuts?
Yes, 2 Clippers, James Harden and Zoo. I contemplate both of them. I'm still contemplating James Harden right now. And JJJ or Zoo was when I was doing a toss-up for as well. So Halliburton and Cat were safe for me. The other 3 were in a battle with James Harden and Zoo. I'm not sold either way. I might change my mind. So I'll come back to that. But that's my All NBA third team. John D's is Cade, Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, Triple J, and Cat. We're gonna go to All NBA second team. John D, All NBA second team.
I had Anthony Edwards, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Tyrese Halliburton, and Evan Mobley.
Okay, so you said Anthony Edwards.
Yep.
You said LeBron.
Yep.
You said Evan Mobley.
Yep.
Who else did you say?
Tyrese Halliburton and Steph.
Halliburton, okay, and Steph, okay. I did something very weird with my All NBA second team, and this is because I'm very passionate about the All NBA first team. So I put 6 people on the second team.
Oh,
because I think there should only be 4 All NBA first team players.
Bro, fuck out of here. Jesus Christ.
So I'm of the belief
5. We know the 4 is clearing.
No.
We know the 5 is clearing.
I think the 4 All NBA first team members are so clear that whoever gets that 5th first team spot got it on a technicality. They're very clearly a second team All NBA player. That someone has to make it. So for my ballot, because I don't have an official vote, I went with 6 players in the All NBA second team. Those 6 are Steph Curry, LeBron James, Evan Mobley, Anthony Edwards, Cade, and Jalen Brunson. Those are the 6 I went with. So yeah, those are the 6 I went with. I did consider Cade on the third team and Halliburton on the second team, but I ultimately did just favor Cade defense. I do think he's a more reliable one-on-one scorer. And I do think just relatively more consistent from start to finish. So that's why I went with Cade over Tyrese Halliburton. But that can go either way for me. And then the other names, I think they all go relatively without saying. So yeah, I have 6 people on the All NBA second team. And I think that obviously makes sense that my first team is going to be very obvious. But Lo, I'm going to go to you because this is one where you can participate. All NBA first team.
It's Tatum, Giannis, Jokic, SGA. And regardless of how you may feel about it, there has to be obviously somebody who is.
It's my ballot. It doesn't have to be.
There's somebody has to be in there. I don't think nobody really questions those four at all. The fifth is tough, and maybe maybe I'm being a homer. Maybe I just didn't do
You
enough.
have LeBron. Okay, you have LeBron.
I didn't do enough research, but it's LeBron. Yeah, I think LeBron got that for
Okay.
that last spot.
John D, I know you have the same four. So who's your fifth?
I have Jalen Brunson as my fifth option. I think he's been extremely consistent this season from start to finish. I think that's been my gripe with a Steph or a LeBron. It's just they've had really low lows this season.
Yeah.
And I think outside of Jalen Brunson missing a month, which the Knicks were almost a bottom 10 offense when he wasn't in the game or when he was injured. So I went with Jalen Brunson, just the ability to consistently get to the free throw line and consistently get to his spots, despite how small he may be. He has a really good shot making ability in the mid range, consistently getting to the rim and having a decent footwork down low and decent post moves as a 6'2" guard. Pretty decent hook shot as well. So I went with Jalen Brunson, man. He's been consistent all year. Going off of that criteria, it was between him and Ant. And I think Jalen Brunson has been better than Ant this season. So I went with JB.
I don't think the other four need to be explained. So, Lo, why did you favor LeBron over the rest of the field?
I agree. The fifth one was a little bit more difficult to kind of sniff out. And I agree that LeBron and Steph, they've been up and down for portions of the season. I think LeBron's lows, though, I think there was a 10-game span he had early on the season that was like really, really, really bad. And then he's recently had a stretch of games that also haven't been that great, coming off of a groin injury. However, his highs have just, in my opinion, have just been like so astronomically high that it's really hard to penalize him too much because of those 10 to 15 games or 10 to 20 game stretches that he's had throughout the season. Spot up shooting, catch and shoot has been amazing this year from three. Really great still in transition. The passing and the playmaking is still there. Passing, not as much. I think this is probably a slippage in passing. But for the good portion of the second half of the season, defensively, he's picked it up a lot more on that side of the floor, kind of roaming, helping out, and kind of being impactful on that side a little bit more than I think people give him credit for. All in all, I do agree that there's a gap between the top four and whoever that fifth slot is. But I also agree that the inconsistencies of like LeBron can plague him in this conversation. But I think his highs have just been higher than Brunson or really anybody that you want to put in that fifth spot. So yeah.
I think both of you guys made very compelling cases. And if I had to put someone on the All NBA first team, I mean, I'd probably go with Steph, but I don't know. But I'm so comfortable saying these four are just way above.
Yeah, they're far above.
It just feels wrong to me that someone else is going to be on the first team when they're like very clearly just second team caliber, but the second team can only have 5. So I'm not changing it. This is what I'm doing. It's my ballot. I make the rules. But Lo, do you have any idea who you'd have on the All NBA second team?
Well, is Johnny going to say them? Because I do have it though.
John D had.
No. Who he's about to say?
Oh, you have something to say? My fault.
Are we going to talk about Tatum and Giannis? Because I don't think we're going to bring them up in the MVP conversation. Because
that does make sense. They're all going to be Tatum and Giannis.
Fair.
You want us to talk about them?
Giannis, to be honest, man, Giannis on the stretch right now. I don't want to sound like the guy on Twitter that's like stating the obvious and there's like, but Giannis is on like a very he's and it's unfair that he's basically going to be this era's D Wade or this era's, I don't want to like undersell him, but I think y'all kind of get the point I'm making. Like this era's D Wade, Chris Paul, Kevin Garnett to an extent, where you just like you exist in an era of basketball where there's just like ridiculous highs that are being seen at the same time, and so like you make it understated because Chris Paul played with like KD and LeBron. He peaked at that same time, and then Steph followed right after, and then like KG is trying to peak at the same time. Duncan and Shaq are peaking and winning championships. So like you may not be existing. I think Jerry West is probably the perfect example of that as well. But I mean, we are back-to-back years of 30, 10, and 5, 60% from the field. I think this is basically the fourth or fifth year in a row where it's 30, 10, and 5 and some variation of high conversion at the field. And in the mid-range shooting, at some point I was waiting for it to fall off the face of the fucking earth. But no, he basically finished the season off as one of the better mid-range shooters as well. The fluidity in the jump shot is there. And I think this is actually the better defensive years in recent memory as well. So overall, I think Giannis is probably going to finish off in a distant third or fourth in the MVP race. So I think a lot of people are going to forget about him, especially because SGA led a team to 65 plus wins and Jokic averaged a triple-double, basically a 30-point triple-double. But Giannis is on an all-time tear. And Tatum, as a passer and playmaker this year, continue to impress, especially on a roster that doesn't have that many selections. And Jaylen Brown, holy fuck, so bad this year.
God, yeah.
That Tatum, if there's any question, I know some people are still gonna be nasty and be like, "Oh, who got Finals MVP?" But like this year is like so definitively, he is the best player on that team that it's not even a question.
Yeah, Giannis over these last 10 games, 32 points per game, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists. And this is where I've been like stressing that being a number one option on a team, whether you're the primary decision maker or not, it still matters if you can constantly make the right read or just not be killed when send double teams and things of that nature. Because now Giannis without a Dame, they're going to be sending 2 to 3 bodies at Giannis consistently. And now that he can constantly make the right play, whether it's hitting AJ Green in the corner, hitting Gary Trent on the wing. These guys are shooting 42% from 3 on 36 attempts a game over the last 10 games. I think they've been top 3 most efficient 3 or best shooting 3-point teams in the NBA over that stretch. So they're clearly running things to get him ahead of steam to the basket, whether it's letting him just get the ball and go in transition, setting screens as soon as he crosses the half-court line, because they know it's going to have so much people collapse in the defense knowing that Giannis is having a full head of steam all the way downhill. They're going to send 3 or 4 bodies almost every time. So Giannis is playing to levels that I think is crazy, and nobody's going to talk about it because SGA and Nikola Jokic are going to be at the top of the MVP race. Now for Tatum, I really never loved the Jaylen Brown is better than him conversations. I never thought Jaylen Brown was better than Jason Tatum, just because I think Jaylen Brown has to have way more cater to him. Like, for example, Jason Tatum can operate a lot better with a team that can't shoot as well. I don't think Jaylen Brown can. I think Jaylen Brown, if they were to see the Thunder in the finals, he would have a really bad series just because you can't attack anybody in a mismatch. He doesn't have the handle. But Jason Tatum has been great as a scorer this season, just being more of a downhill player. I really like what Jason Tatum has done this season.
Giannis over his last 6 games is averaging 32, 12, and 12. And the Bucks is 6-0. They've been an elite offense without Damian Lillard. This is Giannis and a bunch of play finishers. Okay. This is Giannis and a bunch of play finishers, and Kyle Kuzma has been Kyle Kuzma.
Which isn't a good thing. I'm about to say that's not a good thing. Just so y'all. And quiet as kept, Doc is still Doc. Because I see them doing shit, and it's clearly just Giannis is that fucking good at basketball to where Doc bad decision making. Like the most adjustments I've seen Doc do was against that Minnesota game where he was like zone. Oh, we got him, and it ended up working. But like Doc is the fact that Giannis is doing the shit he's doing, and Doc is still not, in my opinion, been able to figure out a way to maximize him. Is kind of telling.
Yeah, I think this has been his best playmaking season, best mid-range scoring season, yes. Best defensive season in a couple years. Not his best overall, obviously, but best in a couple years, probably since 2022. I do think Giannis has not found a new gear, but definitely like he goes under the radar, and I think that's the point you was alluding to about like the KGs, Jerry Wests of the world, like guys who just seem to go under the radar but always just in the mix. And it feels weird saying Giannis is in the midst because like you could definitely make the argument he's the best player in the world. Especially when you just factor in like the rim pressure, the improved playmaking, the defensive ability, especially in like clutch moments. When you see Giannis fully engaged on defense, he can make plays that not many people in the world can make. So he definitely still has that capability. But yeah, I do appreciate John D for saying we should probably talk about them because they weren't going to get brought up in the MVP stuff. And then Jason Tatum, yeah, the playmaking leap from him has been absurd. He's by far Boston's best playmaker, best passer, best overall decision maker. He's their primary ball handler. Now, I do think that has its own drawbacks that I'm not going to say here, but I will say sometime soon. But I do think he's improved his mid-post game, his ability to attack mismatches, his isolation game. I do think is better, more refined this year. Still not the biggest fan of his shot selection. Still do think there's probably too many pull-up threes in there. But I do think his rim finishing has got better. And I do think he's probably more efficient than he's been in years past. I actually don't know if that's true, like on raw true shooting stuff-wise. But in terms of just like his overall impact on the offensive side of the ball, I do think this is his most efficient offensive season. And I do think defensively, he's been, I want to say Boston's best defender this season. That's how high I've been on.
I was gonna say it, but I didn't want to jump off a cliff.
I think he's been Boston's best defender this season as well. So like he's been amazing. Very justified All NBA first team.
Actually,
it's been a top 5.
Lowest true shooting in 3 years.
God damn. Hey, I'm going to start bringing up turnovers and efficiency, I guess. I don't know. Assist to turnover ratio. Something. I don't know. He feels more efficient.
Oh, yeah, because I didn't know he was shooting as bad from 3.
It's like 34% this year?
It's 34, yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, it doesn't.
We're trying to stay positive. We're going to stay positive.
He's also at career high volume, 10 threes a game. So that definitely doesn't help. But overall, I still do think this is the best Jason Tatum's ever been, in my opinion. I agree. So very high on Jason Tatum. He's played like a top 5 player for the majority of the season. There's been some lows in terms of 3-point shooting, variance, and whatever the case. But overall, start to finish, top 5 player in the NBA this season. And he's played another like 73, 74 games. So there's also that value.
The last thing...
go ahead.
The last thing I want to say about Giannis, if they're probably going to lose to Indiana. Like, I would pick Indiana to win that series. But the conversations around Giannis are going to be so nasty this offseason. And I've already heard it. I've already heard the arguments about Giannis can't get it done in the playoffs.
I've heard those arguments.
Yeah. Like I'm not ready to have those. Like it's
I thought it was gonna be more Dame convos.
Maybe.
I'm here for those.
Oh, so you a hater? Okay.
I ain't gonna lie. Every time I watch Dame, people like Bucks like Dame and Bobby Portis. Holy fuck! Every single time I watch him, those two players, I'm like, bro, there's no way that like there's just like certain things that those two players are like really great indicators of like things that may not show up in a box score of things that you just need to play like winning basketball at a high level. Bro, Bobby Portis has like Julius Randle syndrome at times where he just doesn't make reads. It's like fucking pass the ball, bro. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you. And then Dame defensively, I don't give a damn how much people try to tell me he's improved. Fuck, bro. He's just bad defensively. Like I've never. It's very, very. It's only a handful. It doesn't get talked about. Like Trey gets trashed defensively. Luka gets trashed defensively. Dame is a bad defender. I don't give a damn what anybody says. He's a bad defender.
I agree. He's a bad defender. I feel being a bit harsh on Dame. Kyle Kuzma, another indicator of that thing, by the way. Kyle Kuzma he's bad.
Kyle Kuzma is like you would have thought. Is this somebody on y'all platform who said that? No, I think it was somebody else. Let me not. I think it was somewhere else.
I mean, I had people victory lapping Kyle Kuzma after 2 games on the Bucks when I said he was bad.
Oh yeah,
he played decent for 2 games.
It might have been y'all then. It might have been.
Apparently Kyle Kuzma good, but anyway, away from Kyle Kuzma because we've said his name way too much in the show about end of season awards. We do have a couple of super chats before I get to Lowe's second team and third team All NBA. DSG Piccolo. Oh, this is an all defensive one. I'm actually going to save that one. Avery said, "Has Tatum really been a whole tier above Bron?" I think so. personally. I'm just saying that.
Throughout the entire 82 games, I would take Tatum as a tier over Bron because I feel as though throughout an entire 82 game season, you're probably going to get more from Tatum in the regular season. Now, there are spurts where LeBron can look like a top 5 player in the NBA, and when his shot's going down with his still elite mismatch attacking and playmaking, he's going to look like a top 5 player in the league. Like that stretch earlier this season where he was averaging like 29, 7, and 8 on like 46% from 3 on 7 attempts for like 15 games. Like that's a top 5 player, especially when he was locked in defensively. Like, but that's what I'm looking at is like that we're probably going to get that every 20 games. We're probably going to get like a 5 game stretch like that from LeBron for like every 15.
It's a great stretch every time it happens, though. So
for sure. Trust me.
Let's not take those stretches.
Oh, it's an amazing stretch when that happened. I was like, God damn, boy, he really one of them right now.
I had to deal with Bron MVP convos in February because of the stretch he was going through. That late January, February stretch.
Trust me, I was there with you, right? Yeah, they were definitely banging at my door. I thought he was washed. I got it.
I've had many people run victory laps on that. Pimp named Slickback said, "This isn't an award, but if there was a most improved team award, the Detroit Pistons. How do you guys think they'll do in the playoffs? They are going to play the Knicks. So real quick, we are going to do a playoff preview next week, by the way. So we're not going to give full details, but just real quick, who do you guys have winning that series, Knicks or Pistons?"
I think this is a harder series than people are thinking, just because I think Cade is going to have a series and a half against that drop coverage defense. And if they put McHale on him, he's going to fry that. But I would still take.
Why would they put McHale though? They won't put OG?
I'm just saying, like, I would probably put OG, but McHale has had moments as their point of attack. And
no, Tibbs do that. He got to lose his job.
The reason he'd go with McHale and not OG is because, like, the interior scoring of Detroit, you probably want OG there as another rim protector. And Cat's not doing anything. So like, Jalen Duren, Asar Thompson, like all these guys crashing. Like OG normally just plays off Asar and like free safety to try and protect Cat. So I don't know. I hope if he goes to McCown and Cade, I'm gonna be pushing agendas for sure. But I think Cade
is about to go fucking crazy.
Cade is gonna fry that.
Cade is gonna fry that. My second team. To answer the question, I don't even know if it's going to be that much of a underdog. I think Detroit has just been like the second half of the season has just been a noticeably better team, and they present a lot of the problems that the Knicks struggle with. If they go McHale point of attack, that's going to be a problem. Lack of physicality inside is going to be a problem, and just overall depth like that's been the problem with the Knicks all season long, and it was a problem with them last year as well. My second team: Ant, Mobley, Brunson, Hallie, and Steph. Shout out to Ant. I think doesn't he like lead the league in most made threes?
I think so.
Yes, total yes.
Yeah. So shout out to Ant. I don't know why people were jumping off the bridge saying he regressed. I think everything else is I think everything else is pretty self-explanatory. And then Cat, D Mitch, Triple J, Cade, and Big Zoo.
That's your third team?
Yeah.
Cat, Triple J,
D Mitch,
Mitchell,
Cade.
Zoo, and Cade. Okay. Yeah. I'm glad to see you guys all had Tyrese Halliburton on the All-NBA team.
Yeah.
Because I asked on the panel yesterday, shout out to Player's Choice, I asked if Tyrese Halliburton should be an All-NBA player. And I wasn't met with just resounding yes. So I'm glad to see that you guys all have Halliburton on the All-NBA team. That does mean, though, that Oklahoma City are only going to have one All-NBA player to all of us.
And I think they should.
And that also means that no Trae Young on any All-NBA teams.
Those were my
two, you guys.
Those were my two toughest cuts, J-Dub and Trae Young. I also thought about Pascal Siakam just for a tight second, but those three were my toughest cuts because I just think J-Dub, great defensively, like he's gonna be on a team. He's gonna be on a team. We're not like he's gonna be on one of these teams, but I just think One, I think James Harden is being underrated this season because a lot of people look at his splits and be like, oh, he's not that efficient, this, that, and the third. And I just think if you're constantly creating offense and you're efficient at what you do, which is isolation, pick and roll, you're constantly setting up guys for looks like Norman Powell, Derrick Jones Jr., Ivica Zubac, you're constantly setting up the offense. I think James Harden definitely needed a nod. And who was on my third team as well? I think Hallie just has been better than Trey this season. Yeah, it's just can't be 4 teams.
I have a slight question. I don't want to hold us up too much because we do have to get to all defensive teams and MVP. If the Clippers are, I believe, a top 3 defense,
yeah,
and I want to make sure I get this absolutely right. Where did the Clippers rank? Okay, so the Clippers are 3rd in defensive rating, and they are 16th in offense. I think we're all on the same page that Zoo is the biggest reason why they're an elite defense. And we're giving James Harden a lot of credit for the offense, but their offense is mid, or has been mid throughout the season. But since Kawhi's come back, it's actually been good. Why do you have James Harden above Zoo on an All NBA team? I guess is the question I'm asking. What led to that?
I definitely think James Harden. Well, that's a good question. I would definitely say like both of them have like solid offensive personnel, solid defensive personnel. But I think James Harden just constantly having the pressure of being blitzed out of every pick and roll and making decisions for every offensive possession, because you can tell going throughout the season before Kawhi got there, every decision was like going through James Harden. He was making every decision for the offense. He was setting everything up for that offense to where you still had solid defenders on the floor with Zubac, like Derrick Jones Jr., like a Chris Dunn, Nicholas Batum when he played. And I think James Harden was like the resounding force behind that offense while Kawhi wasn't there. So like, what I'm trying to say is, I think James Harden just impacted.
He had a larger
single
burden.
offense.
He had to do. I'm with you. I wasn't trying to have a gotcha moment. I was genuinely curious. Someone asked me that in a comment section, a couple of weeks ago, and I threw the question to you because I didn't know the answer. So thank you. Anyway, all defensive teams. John D, your all defensive second team.
My all defensive second team consists of, hold on, let me find the page if this is the right notebook. It is the right notebook. Okay, great. All defensive second team will be Lou Dort, Dyson Daniels, Bam Adebayo, Ivica Zubac, and Jaren Jackson. Those are my 5 for my all defensive second team.
Lou Dort, Bam, Dyson, Jaren Jackson, and
Zubac.
Zoo. Okay. Lo, do you have an all defensive second team?
I only got to 3 names. I'm trying to think of on the top, but I will say the 3 I have is OG, Triple J, and Bam. Those are my.
Okay.
Those are my 3.
I'll say real quick. Mine was Dyson Daniels, Lou Dort, Zoo, Triple J, and Bam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have the exact same team.
Hey, but Mars,
you said Triple J, Bam, and who's the last one? You said Dort.
I said Lou Dort, Dyson Daniels, Triple J, Bam, and Zoo. Those are my 5.
I don't have. Oh well, when you asked me who because some of these names were, I need to hear what y'all have as what you call. Actually, I might put Asar in on the.
I don't think Asar's played the game.
He didn't. Okay.
I think he's at like 58.
He missed a lot of games early on with the Blackhawks. Yeah, 59. Damn. You want us to say our first teams and then?
What's the first?
John D, go ahead. What's your first team? All NBA defense.
Draymond, Amen, J-Dub, Evan Mobley, Rudy Gobert.
Okay, so real quick. You said Draymond.
Yeah.
Mobley. I heard Rudy. Who else did I hear? Draymond, Mobley, Rudy.
Draymond, Mobley, Rudy, Amen, and J-Dub.
Okay. Yeah, we have the exact same all defensive teams.
Hey,
Literally.
but Mars, I be stealing your takes though, bro. Like,
Oh wow.
they be in the comment section. Yo, John D be taking Mars takes, bro. Like he just be.
Yeah, I be seeing it. Apparently, you might echo.
Yeah.
I don't mind the
yeah.
I don't mind the J Dub love. I would still put him on second team, but my first team was Amen, Dort, Dyson, Draymond, Mobley. Those are my five. So we got three of the same.
Amen, Dort, Dyson, Mobley, and Draymond. You said?
Yeah, Draymond. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the difference is you just had Dyson and we had J Dub. That's the difference.
Yeah. No, but both of you had Dort second team.
Yeah, I had.
Oh yeah. So Amanda. So
y'all had Gobert. First team.
Yeah. You don't have Rudy at all, or you gonna put?
I to be honest with you, I was kind of going back and forth on Rudy. I wanted before I jumped out the window with Rudy. I've to be fair, especially I was looking at lineup data last night. The second half of the season, that team's defense has been fucking ridiculous, and I think
since Rudy's been back from his whatever injury he was dealing with, I think it was a back injury. He's been phenomenal. Prime Rudy Gobert. He's been amazing. Phenomenal. Yeah. So maybe I am dealing with a bit of recency bias in terms of because early on in the season I wasn't very high on Rudy's defense.
Yeah, I wasn't.
I don't think he was great, but what he's done the last month or two has definitely moved the needle for me, and I think that's probably why I've led to putting him on the first team, which might be a bit of recency bias. I'm fine to own that.
To also be fair, shout out to Jaden because he also was kind of mid in the beginning part of the season. Yeah, McDaniels. He was mid in the beginning part of the season, and he's significantly better as of late as well. So I think that's kind of aided them as well. I guess not to go because I feel pretty firm about my at least my five. I think Lou Dort is going to be. I just like the things in which like I watched him obviously against the Lakers, and I was like, "Fuck, bro!" Like he's like taking out Luka, and then Luka got out, and I was like, so this is how I knew Reeves was like on some other level. Luka got thrown out. No, I gotta say, I can't say that.
No way you made the Reeves, bro.
Luka got thrown out, and they put Lou Dort on Reeves, and I was like, what the fuck am I watching right now? And I was like, bro, that's like the ultimate respect. But now I've seen Lou Dort genuinely just like take a lot of players out of like their rhythm and stuff like that, and not be able to impact the game as much as they have been able to. And I think Dyson has done a lot of that as well, kind of just like really slowed down the decision making from a lot of teams. And I think Dyson and Dort, similar to like Drew back like 2-3 years ago, where they really do challenge my ideology on like how skilled a lot of these players are or like positionless basketball, because I think a lot of players get away with being able to handle an offense just because there's not an adequate pressure being put on them. And I ain't gonna lie, the things that Dyson has just done to like players where I'm like, oh, maybe you shouldn't actually be bringing the ball up, and like
you are severely cooking right now.
Yeah,
I didn't want to say that when I was talking about the Boston Celtics earlier, but watch the PCL tomorrow. I'm just saying that because I'm definitely echoing your sentiments right there. I'm very high on Dyson and Dort too. I'm still falling victim to my rim protection and versatility bias. Like I'm favoring those types of guys. So a man for me, like J-Dub. The reason I go with J-Dub over a Lou Dort, for example, is I think him being able to legitimately play the five, protect the rim like a true big, while having elite hands, amazing wingspan, able to guard on the perimeter, amazing team defense. Like I think that's what sets him apart from Lou. Even though I think Lou Dort might be the best pure on-ball isolation point of attack defender in the league, I just think J-Dub just does so much of the other things that I do think impact defense on the team level slightly more. So that's why I'm higher on J-Dub. But I do think Lou Dort has improved in those other areas. Last year, he was pretty much a pure on-ball defender. I do think he's improved in the team defense aspects. I've seen him make rotations at the rim that he wasn't making last year. Put them off-ball defense in terms of denying the ball, playing past the lanes. I do think he's bought into that as well, which I do think has improved his value, which is why I have him on the all-defensive team this year. Along with, I think his screen navigation has leveled up. Which is something I thought was a weakness of his in the past. I now think he's an elite screen navigator, which has boosted his on-ball value. So that's why he's on my all defensive second team, but just not enough to get on the first team.
Go ahead. a couple of things that I've been saying all year is we're walking into one of the better defensive eras of basketball we've ever.
Yes,
And
yes,
and the main narrative is we don't play defense now. Like
yeah,
we have freaks like
I seen
Victor
Ron Harper
Wembanyama.
tweet about that like yesterday, talking about
Like
yeah.
people can't play defense.
people can't play defense. Like we have freaks of nature. Evan Mobley, Chet, and Wemby, they're freaks. Ahmed Thompson and Asor Thompson, they're freaks. Like
Yes.
these guys can guard multiple positions. They're 9 times out of 10 probably for especially for Asor and Ahmed, they're the most athletic player on the floor. They can get up and down the floor extremely fast, and their second jump is amazing. Like Amen Thompson, his timing on his block shots, his recovery on his rim protection, just being able to be a low man and a point of attack defender. Like we're walking into a fantastic defensive era, and people won't realize it until like these guys are doing it in the playoffs. Like when people see a men do it in the playoffs, or when people see a Sword do it, or when Chet and Wemby finally have those moments when they're completely shutting the water off for a team or for the opposing team for 5 to 7 straight possessions, that's when people are going to talk about it. And it sucks that people just can't recognize that, but people also don't know how to like really lock in and evaluate defense like they can
For
offense.
sure. Yeah,
So
for sure.
that's what is like so tough for people when they talk about defense, because people think like, oh, just because they're just watching the ball when they watch the game, they're just watching the ball. Like you won't notice the fact that a man has already communicated the switch on a pin down screen before the pin down even happens, so they completely shut that off. Or Lou Dort completely denying the ball on a guy like Jaylen Brown or Luka Doncic before they even get the ball in a favorable spot. So this all defensive team is crazy because there's so many talented defenders on this list, and a lot of talented defenders aren't even going to get the games played to make the list.
I was about to say that's
Like,
why it's crazy that
because
we can't put Chet nor Wemby.
Definitely,
Yes, we can't even put Chet, Wemby on this. Asar can't be on this either. There's a lot of names that genuinely just cannot be on this list. So the fact that we are quite literally getting to 10, and one of the biggest problems when I was growing up is that I did feel like some players got on these lists off of reputation.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way looking at these names. Like I just genuinely believe that they are.
Are you team add a third team all defense?
Yeah, I think we're getting to that point where we're just need. I don't even know why the fuck there isn't one. I don't know like where that came along where we decided not to. But yeah, like I think that we are at that point. Also, I don't know. I don't want to overstep what you about to say tomorrow potentially, because I don't even know what you're gonna say tomorrow. But I think that it is. I'm happy that you're also recognizing that shit when it comes to like Lou Dort and Dyson. I'm like quiet as kept chat because I don't have a platform to like just nerd out like this, bro. This shit right now, because for a long time I was like, bro, how the fucking Michael Jordan and them average that many fucking steals? That makes no fucking sense to me. But I'm starting to realize there's potentially just way too many players in the NBA right now who are initiating offense who can't deal with ball pressure at all. Like genuinely speaking, cannot deal with it, and it's frightening to see Lou Dort, Dyson, Amin, Asar, Drew when he's like really driven and like get after it, shut down people who have initiated offense. And it is in my opinion, I think we're gonna get. I think it just makes everybody better. Obviously, like it forces like players to just be better with their counters and handles. But to sit there and to see Dyson just like know what you're going to do after I push this way, you counter this way, and I just get this. I'm like, bro, what the fuck am I watching right now? And he does that consistently, and I'm actually floored. Like Dyson is like the first time in a very long time I've seen someone rip someone on ball like consistently, can like routinely just get after somebody on ball. And yeah, it does really challenge my ideology on like positionless basketball and like everybody just handling offense when I'm like, I don't know if you really can handle this offense. I don't know.
I don't want to say too much because I don't want to.
So it is stepping on your.
No, I mean not really. I have similar thoughts about a certain situation that I'm definitely going to be using these types of points. This is also something I've been thinking about for a while. I will say this: I don't think this oversteps anything without spoiling anything. I think the league was going in a direction where teams wanted to have like 5 wings out there practically.
Yeah,
like 5, 6, 8, 6, 9 guys who can all handle, create. defenders like Dyson, Amen, Asar, etc. I don't think that's a viable strategy. You need to
It's
have
not.
someone.
Yes.
You need to have someone who can legitimately handle offense, initiate offense. You can't just be running a bunch of wings and be like, oh well, they can pass and play make, so they're gonna be fine. No, I don't think that works at all.
Let's take it a
So
step further. Just last part. I think also bigs like Chet, Wemby, Mobley,
mhm.
and obviously AD kind of being the beginning version of it. Technically, I mean KG back in the day, but AD kind of starting this off is also allowing double big lineups to be a little bit more popular again because those bigs are able to provide the spacing regardless of his 3-point shooting or not, while also still keeping the rim protection that is obviously valuable. What you call it? So I agree. There was a point where I thought it was going to be a bunch of 6'6" to 6'9" players running around in those type of lineups. But I think a lot of people kind of adopted what Draymond provided at that height and just said, "Oh, we're going to put this in like 6'10", 7 feet players," and it's catching up to the league very, very quickly. But you it's kind of crazy that we think hey chat, I am not talking to Mars in this capacity in a while, and the fact that like this
I've
some
been
things
I've
we
been thinking
noticing.
this. I've been thinking this for so long, and I've never
Yeah,
had like. There's never been a conversation that's been going in this direction for me to ever
yeah,
say what I've been thinking about it. And I wanted to make a tweet about it, but I was waiting for it to be like relevant to a game I was watching, so I could be like, "This is the evidence of what I've been thinking."
yeah,
But today's conversation, better time than ever. So um,
yeah.
definitely something I want to harp more on just in the future. I do think it's very interesting to see the direction the league apparently it seemed to be going in, and how I don't think that's going to be viable going forward. Do you have your last two for the all defensive second team?
I mean, I don't mind putting Gobert and J Dub on there. I was thinking of J Dub. I just want to like really go around the league. And also Gobert. I just didn't want to get too caught up in like the latter part of the season because I vividly remember Gobert wasn't the greatest early on. But I have no problem with Gobert and J Dub, especially J Dub. I have no problem at all with that at
I
all.
want to give a shout out to someone who I don't think is going to make it, but amazing defensively, Tamani Kamara.
Absolutely.
I was singing his praises his rookie year, but I think he's got even better this year. If John D remembers, when we did our mid-season awards, I gave him a shout out for most improved player because of how much better I think he's gone both offensively and defensively. Elite drawing offensive fouls, amazing versatility, can practically guard 1 through 5, practically. Elite mobility for his size, 6'8", 6'9", amazing length, can provide rim protection. I think he's going to be held back by Portland's overall team defense. And I do think he's just like slightly far enough behind as like a pure like rim protector type to where I wouldn't have him over a guy like J-Dub or etc. And he's not the same matchup defender like a Lude or Dyson Daniels. So he falls slightly short for me, but definitely considered him. Now, before we get into the real situation, the MVP and DPOY, we do have a couple more super chats. One from DSG Piccolo, our resident Blazers fan. He said, Tamani's not going to get all defense this year, heartbroken, but we're coming for 2 spots next year. Klingon going to be disciplined. And also, what's your most anticipated playoff matchup this year? Most anticipated playoff matchup? I mean, the bias in me is just saying Houston versus anyone, just to see Houston in the postseason. But I'm hoping for Denver Minnesota version 2, part 2. I'm very curious to see Denver Minnesota part 2. I'm also quite curious to see hopefully a Lakers Warriors series. That would also
No, you don't. You don't want to see that. No,
I want to see that.
I think we're all tired of that. We're tired of that shit. We're tired of it.
I don't think we're tired. I'm very curious to see that.
I want to see Houston and Warriors. How about that? You deal.
Oh no, I don't want to see
that.
Y'all deal with Draymond and Jimmy. Y'all deal with that shit.
Houston versus Memphis. Yep, Houston versus Memphis. No. But yeah, those are the series I'm most looking forward to. You guys, what are you guys looking forward to?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think with Lakers Warriors, you're always gonna get some superstar moments. Curry's gonna have like 35, and it's gonna come down to the wire because that's just how a lot of these games have gone in recent years. Same with Minnesota and Denver. I think that's gonna be a really good series. I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is gonna have a great series in that playoff matchup. If I do want to shout out the Eastern Conference, I think Boston and Orlando could be very interesting if Paolo is going to be Paolo Banchero. We all know I'm a big Paolo guy, and if Paolo can be Paolo and get to the free throw line and get to the rim consistently, like he knows he's 6'10" instead of him being 6'3" and settling for a lot of mid ranges. I don't think Boston has an answer for him at all. I really don't. And I would love to watch that series because I think Orlando, if they were fully healthy, they could make Boston's life really hard. They really could. But I'm definitely going to be watching Paolo because hopefully he has his playoff series being Paolo Banchero instead of Kevin Durant. So,
okay. Well, let's hope they actually make the playoffs first. But
yeah, let's pray.
They're gonna make
it. Yeah, we don't know.
I agree. Well, the West unfortunately still isn't set in stone, but I do like my eyes on Orlando and Detroit. I was high on Orlando before the season started. Obviously, injuries kind of derailed their season. I'm more the other side. I'm not trying to divide these two young fellas, but I'm definitely more of a Franz guy. Franz, he does things to me.
I mean, he hit that game winner on you guys earlier this season.
So. Anyway,
I hated it.
Anyway. Yeah, those two teams are going to be interesting to see because I do think that both Boston, and especially the Knicks, are going to have their hands full in the first round, and I just enjoy seeing, competitive basketball in the first round of the Eastern Conference. We don't really get to see it too much, So
absolutely. One from Teddy Hart. This is something he spoke about last week. He said he's almost done building the League Talent Index, LTI, for 1986, 92, 2006, and 2013 to measure how strong the average player was during the peaks of Magic, MJ, Kobe, and LeBron. Hope this brings context to dominance debates. Yeah, like I said last week, whenever you have that formula down, let me know. I'm very curious. I'm very curious to see that. Anytime someone's willing to make their own stat, I'm curious to see what you guys got going on. Couple more. Akeem said low F you. So I don't know what beef you got with you. And then he said, why did Low not come up on the top offensive peaks? Because we wanted Low for the end of season awards. So that's why. But yeah, F you, Low, according to Akeem. He then followed that up by asking who's better, 2013 Kobe or 2025 LeBron?
2013 Kobe, of course. What we talking about?
John D.
This era is just so easy to scoring. This era is so easy to score, man. No defense being played.
Yeah, and LeBron averaging below 25 for the first time in 20 years. No to say. Couple more. Nonchalant individual said, is Giannis in a separate tier from Tatum this year?
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. The shooting I just saw from Tatum might have swayed me in a different because I didn't know Tatum was that bad at shooting. God damn, bro. I think he is. Let's stop beating around the bush, man.
I think Giannis is a tier above Tatum as a player, but like the reason I don't know if this is what he was trying to get. The reason I'm putting 4 people on All NBA first team and not 3 is because I think Tatum's closer to the first 3 than he is to the rest of All NBA second team. But I do think if I were to like put them, I don't think Tatum would be.
You think Tatum is closer to Giannis than he is let's say LeBron?
This season, I think he's played closer to the level of Giannis than LeBron has played to the level of Tatum. Yes.
No, I can see that.
From start to finish. Yeah, from start to finish.
I can see that.
I factor in the defensive impact, the playmaking, huge playmaking leap.
It's a leap, but it's not anywhere near close to the players.
He's not the level of playmaker that LeBron is. I still do think he does a lot more things on the margins compared to LeBron. The defensive gap to me has been substantial throughout the season.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think
who's a better shooter?
This year, LeBron shot the ball better than Tatum.
Way
from
better.
3, mid-range, turnarounds, whatever the case.
So who's a better scorer, though?
I think LeBron's the better scorer.
Who's a better passer?
I think LeBron's the better passer.
So, and obviously playmaker. Let's stop. Okay, let's move on. Let's get to these awards.
I'll say I'm not as high on LeBron's playmaking this year as.
Let's get to the DPOY, man.
But yeah. Anyway, real quick, Teddy Hart said, unless the threshold for what's considered a common foul changes, the NBA isn't beating the soft defense allegations, despite the guys that we pointed out. Yeah, I mean, the narrative is going to be the narrative regardless of whatever. But anyway, we are at the pivotal moment of the show. We are at the 2 biggest awards. We're going to start with the smaller awards, the Defensive Player of the Year awards. John D, who is your Defensive Player of the Year?
I think Draymond got it, man. I think Draymond got it. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, this is a sympathy award because Draymond just put his name in the hat and all that. But when you really look at the defense that the Cavaliers have been putting forth over the past few months and the way they've dropped off, it's not just because of the team, but I think Evan Mobley has not been the level of defender since maybe the All-Star break. I think they're 14th or 15th in defense since then. And you could argue that, okay, Evan Mobley, they already had like the top seed in the Eastern Conference, whether one or two kind of locked up by then. The motor just wasn't that high. But I think a lot of people talk about all Steph Curry needs is a chance and he can be the best offensive player in a playoff series. Same with Draymond. Draymond could get another guys next to him like Jimmy Butler, and he can impact a series so highly with his defense. And I'm talking about the versatility, whether it's playing at the level in pick and roll, his play recognition, shutting off a lot of off-ball movement before the off-ball movement starts, his communication. He has not been as great of a rim protector almost throughout his entire career, but I still would like the versatility, having the foot speed to guard on the perimeter, being able to switch out of pick and roll, being able to guard out of pick and roll. His defense on Giannis was fantastic when they played earlier this year. I got Draymond winning Defensive Player of the Year.
Low.
I have been winning as well. I'm actually I agree. The latter part of the season, Mobley just hasn't been as impressive as he was early on. And I think a lot of these other players who are candidates had a little bit more tools and help around them. Maybe outside of Dyson, if you depending on how high you are on Dyson, but Dort, OKC, that team has been amazing. Or if you feel like J-Dub, like that team has been amazing all around. Mobley obviously playing next to Jared Allen, that he has a really good defensive cast around him on the perimeter as well, especially when they added Hunter. I just feel like Draymond is on a team that has not had the proper pieces. Sure, Wiggins was there, but I feel like Draymond and who he is as a player, you start to it was always there, and similar to like, hey, you just need to put another like ball handler around Curry, you'll get the best version of him. Same thing with Draymond. You put another defensive playmaker around him and Jimmy Butler, and like you start to realize like, oh yeah, like he still is really that great. And I also don't like the narrative like he's campaigning to win it right now, and it's like, oh, you were giving it to him for like a month sample size, and it's like, no, he's been hanging around for quite a while. And also, to be fair to Draymond and those people, he probably is campaigning because he realized like this is probably the last year that he probably can legitimately win it. And obviously, I think everybody kind of knows this might be the last year that anybody wins it, not named Wemby, for quite a while. So it was like, or even Chet for it, because I do think Chet kind of does duplicate a lot of that same type of impact as well. So it's like, yeah, let's just try to maximize it right now. But I do think that Draymond's been very impressive. The IQ is still there.
I definitely agree that I think the people saying that he may only win it because of the campaign and stuff, I think is kind of disingenuous, because the reason Draymond wasn't in these talks for most of the season is because Wemby was in one-man conversations. It was Wemby. So there was no Defensive Player of the Year conversations. And then when Wemby went down, Evan Mobley was the favorite for about 3 weeks. And then Draymond's entered like the conversations. So like, if you look at it from the post-Wemby time, Draymond's been in the conversation for most of that time. So I don't think he's just talked his way into it. And I do think he's defended at a Defensive Player of the Year level. Now, I think, and this is something that I just made my mind up on about 46 seconds ago. I think the Defensive Player of the Year is Amen Thompson.
40. So who was it 47 seconds ago?
I had Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley was going to be my defensive player. But I do think there is some merit to the fact that the last third of the season or so, the Cavs defense has dropped off. And I don't think that's because Evan Mobley forgot how to play defense, but I do think he's definitely taken his foot off the gas. And when we talk about a regular season awards, taking your foot off the gas for any portion of the season hurts your case. It doesn't mean that Evan Mobley's a worse defender than he was 4 weeks ago. He's still that level of defender, but he hasn't been that level of defender for a while now because the Cavs have had nothing to play for. And when I look at Amen Thompson, I'm looking at an S-tier transition defender, who's able to get back, chase down blocks, get steals, able to pick guys up full court, force turnovers, excellent defensive playmaker. I would argue him and his twin may be the best matchup defenders in the league. Regardless of who you want to put them on, they can hold their own. I've seen Amen Thompson switch 1 through 4 seamlessly. He's also holding opponents 10% below expected at the rim. He's been an amazing rim protector this year, especially on a Rockets team that, although Alperen Sengun has improved as a rim protector and has improved within the scheme, I think we can all acknowledge that he's not a typical rim protector. Amen Thompson has definitely been the best rim protector on the Houston Rockets. For reference, Draymond Green is holding opponents 9% below expected at the rim, while contesting slightly more shots, but not to a degree that is noticeable to where I can factor in the fact that Amen Thompson has been slightly more effective in that area while being the better perimeter defender. And contrary to what people may think, Evan Mobley's only holding people 8.7% below expected at the rim. Now, he's contesting way more shots, and there's obviously context to it, who he's defending. But I think when I factor that in, along with being the best matchup defender in the league, in my opinion, elite as a defensive playmaker, and the consistency from the start of the season to the end of the season, what he's able to do to All-Stars, what he did to Steph Curry a few nights ago, holding Steph Curry to 3 points, 1 of 10 shooting. And the one shot he made was a heave at the end of the half. He really had nothing going for him. Yeah, I think Amen Thompson from start to finish has been the best defender if you look at it as a whole body of work. I think he really has no real flaws defensively. The only one I could really nitpick is that sometimes he'll have a few moments of miscommunication, where he'll blow a switch, he'll miss a rotation every once in a while. But he has such great recovery tools that even when you notice that happens, he's still able to get back into play and erase it. So when you have that combination of athleticism, point of attack defense, ability to guard multiple positions, able to protect the rim, able to play off the ball, I think he's been the best defender in the league, and he's also doing this on a top 5 defense in the Houston Rockets, which is not something that the Cavs can say with Evan Mobley or the Warriors. I don't think the Warriors are top 5. I actually don't want to lie though.
I think they're 7th.
They're 7th. I think they're 7th.
Yeah, so Amen's also doing this for a top 5 defense. I think most would agree he is the best defender on the Houston Rockets doing this. So yeah, Amen Thompson, as of now, about 5 minutes ago, is my defensive player of the year. Evan Mobley would be my number 2, and Draymond would be my number 3. I think all 3 are very worthy winners. I also think J-Dub does have a horse in this race with everything I said he did earlier. I also think I understand the case for Dyson. I understand, to a lesser degree, I understand the case for Lou Dort. I think Jaren Jackson played himself out of this conversation with the way the Memphis defense has fallen off. But yeah, overall, I'm going to go with Amen Thompson. I know you guys were very surprised by my pick. But do you hate my pick? Am I wrong? Basically, am I wrong?
He was third for me. He was third, so I definitely see where you're coming from. And with me picking Austin Reeves, I knew you were due for one. So,
oh wow,
okay, yeah, thank you.
But very similar to All NBA. I think there's a gap between those 3 and everybody else, so I have no problem with that.
I can agree with that. Yeah, I can agree with that. That's definitely my top 3. And then before we get into the biggest awards, the nonchalant individual chimed in again. He said Tatum's playmaking leap is undeniable, but Giannis had a playmaking leap and a defensive leap, plus LeBron had a shooting leap. I don't see the vision. I actually think you guys might be right. I might be overstepping with saying that Jason Tatum's.
Don't worry about it. I'll make sure I hold that against you every single time, the same way you do to me with some of my takes. Don't worry about
it. Nice, thank you. Anyway, the MVP award. Lo, I'm gonna go straight to you. Who's the MVP?
I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I'll just say it. I have Shea. Shea.
Okay.
I've really tussled with the idea. I think you said it on Twitter, but I'm still gonna say it and act like it's mine as I always do. This year is gonna really be the way we define which one you provide more value to, floor raising or ceiling raising, and I think that's where we're at right now. I do think though that the more and more I think about it, the more and more I think that ceiling raising should be valued more. I think it's just more impressive. And I think the way in which Shea did ceiling raise this year to heighten, which I don't think anybody ever expected, but moreover did so to a historic magnitude on a team in which if you had told me the way that OKC won 65 games was a slightly disappointing offensive season from J-Dub and Chet missing as many games as he did, and Caruso also missing games as well, I would never like at that point. I'm thinking that Shea would have to have done some crazy stuff, and he did, to be fair. And I think that he kind of led that team to where they needed to be, and did so in fashion of historic magnitude himself. And also, as much as I've like tried to wrestle with the idea what an MVP is, the one thing I know that it's not, and that is the best player in the league award. And I think a lot of people need to snap out of trying to make it that, because I don't think that it is that. It historically hasn't been that, nor do I think it should be that, actually. So that's kind of why I've kind of leaned away from not crowning Jokic as well. Also, I think Jokic defensively has been fucking egregious in the last good few weeks to a month now. I don't give a fuck what's
Just say the season. You ain't gonna be around the bush.
Yeah, you don't gotta be nice.
He's been egregious for the season. Yeah,
but these last couple of because I went on Twitter and somebody tried to sit there and they throwing Russ under the bus, which I ain't gonna be too mad at that. But they were trying to say that for the Wizards game, and I actually recently went to go rewatch the shots in that Wizards game. I'm like, holy fuck, Jokic is terrible. Like, what the hell am I watching right now? Yeah, I think Jokic was terrible defensively. I'm not gonna say this year because I wasn't watching as keenly as I'm watching over the past 2 months now. He's been terrible defensively for the past 2 months, and if it's been longer than that, then so be it. But I still think he's a better player. I just think that Shea, I don't think that it should be the best player of the year award. I think there's a value to ceiling raising that I value more than floor raising, and I think Shea deserves that credit.
I think what comes into, because I have SGA, and one thing that I feel like people talk about the Nuggets, one of their biggest deficiencies in their team is their defense, and it's like I think Jokic is probably. Am I crazy to say Jokic is like the ideal issue? The fact that he can't protect the rim as a big, on why their defense is so like we beat around the bush because
he's the biggest reason the defense sucks. Is that what you're trying to say?
One of them, yes. I would say I would say he's one of, if not the biggest reason the defense is bad, because even if you do have some lackluster perimeter defenders, even though Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, those guys are solid defensively, if you have a solid rim protector, your defense at least has a floor, a decent floor, to where if you have a good rim protector, you can have a better defense. I think that takes away from the award because SGA is still contributing to one of the greatest defenses we've seen by the numbers. So I think SGA being a positive defensively to the best defense in the league and being able to lift this offense to heights that I don't think any other player in the league could lift them to, that is what made me have him as the MVP.
Yeah, I'm not gonna beat around the bush on this Jokic defense. He's been egregious this year. There's no other way to slice it. Now, did losing KCP have something to do with that? Yes, but this also goes back to the people who are trying to claim, shout out to Swiper, that Jokic was a good pick and roll defender because of some numbers, when it was very obvious that KCP's screen navigation was the reason for that. I also think it's looked worse since David Adelman's been around, and that's because David Adelman has tried to have Jokic playing drop, so they don't put two on the ball, and that has not worked. So then, if you watch the Grizzlies game last night, they ended up going back to what Jokic is comfortable with, which is hedging, putting two on the ball, because he couldn't play and drop. So he's just a very flawed defender. I seen someone on Twitter in my replies after I said that Jokic. You can see the quote where Jokic was saying that he feels like the Nuggets haven't been good enough on defense.
Yeah.
So I obviously quote tweeted that, saying that mirrors are scary because he is, I think, one of the biggest issues. And then someone responded with that, saying that basically the defense isn't his fault. And I want to remember it word for word, but it was something along the lines of the Nuggets don't do a good job of helping Jokic with his quote unquote unorthodox defensive approach.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's
unorthodox is the new way of saying he's trash on defense.
He's trash.
So, that was very cool. But I'm saying all of this to say, I do think Jokic is my MVP. For me, I've been very consistent on this over the past year or maybe two. I don't know. I think the player who plays the best in the regular season is the MVP. I think Jokic has been the best performing player in the regular season. And that's acknowledging how bad I think he's been defensively. I think having maybe the best offensive regular season in NBA history, being as amazing as Jokic has been as a scorer, playmaker, passer, offensive rebounder, just doing the Jokic stuff, I do think has made him slightly, I don't think it's clear, slightly a better performer in SGA on the season. I'm also trying to make it clear that's not me saying I think the MVP award is the best player in the league awards, because I think you can play better than someone in a regular season, but not be a better player than them. I think Steph Curry's an example of that versus like LeBron James, or a couple years where James Harden, I think, was the best regular season player, but he wasn't the best player in the league. So I want to make sure I'm making that distinction. But yeah, I do think Jokic is my MVP. And to my point about the ceiling raising and floor raising thing, I think I am a believer in ceiling raising is more valuable. But what I don't like is that people are painting this season as Shay's ceiling raising, Jokic is floor raising. Therefore, if I value floor raising more, Jokic is more valuable. If I value ceiling raising more, Shay's more valuable. For me, floor raising and ceiling raising are like skill sets. Like you have a skill set that's made for floor raising, Russell Westbrook, for example, even a Jokic. And then you got guys who have skill sets that are made for ceiling raising. A guy like Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Jokic, Shea. I think Jokic is having a ceiling raising season. He's just not able to raise the ceiling of a bad team. So like he's having to floor raise, but he has the skill set of a ceiling raiser. So I don't want to give him the tax of, oh, well, he's not ceiling raising like Shea is. But in order to raise the ceiling of a team, the team has to be good in the first place, which means I'm technically taxing Jokic for having a bad team by saying he's not ceiling raising. But if we're talking about individual value, if I start bringing up what your team is, then we're getting away from the individuality of the awards. Jokic isn't not ceiling raising because he's not capable of ceiling raising. He's not ceiling raising because the team isn't good enough to where they need a ceiling raiser. That doesn't make him any less of a ceiling raiser of a player. So that's my, I guess, issue with the people who are like, well, ceiling raise is more valuable, so I go with Shea. It's like, well, if you question the ability to ceiling raise of Jokic, who doesn't dominate the ball, who moves off the ball quickly, plays elite without the basketball, crashes the offensive glass, elite screen setter, he has all the ceiling raising skill sets. Besides, which is a big deal, besides the defensive ability to help ceiling raise. But like, I still view him as a ceiling raiser. So that's why I think Jokic is my MVP. I want to make it abundantly clear. I don't think it's clear. I'm not sold easily that it's Jokic. I think the biggest difference on why, like, I might even consider changing my mind tomorrow. Shea has played more games than Jokic. Shea has played, I want to say, 75 games. 76 games. Meanwhile, Jokic has played like 69 games or 70 games. So although it's only 6-7 games difference, in a race that's this close, that is 6-7 games of extra value that Shea's given. So I do think that does play into it, to the point where I'm actually considering changing my answer just off those 6-7 games. But I am going to stand on Jokic. So I do have Jokic as my MVP. Shea is a very, very close number 2. I'm really not bothered either way, personally. I feel like a lot of people are acting like this is... I feel like the people on the Jokic side of this are acting like it shouldn't even be a question.
Yeah,
I think they're very wrong. Based on historical precedent of the MVP award, I actually think it should be Shea and it shouldn't be a question. Like, I genuinely think Shea is just very clearly the MVP based on the historical precedent. But based on how I view it, I do have Jokic. So
do you think that I know we're not really doing much prediction rather than stating what we believe. Mm-hmm. How I don't even think the voting is going to be close. I think Shea's actually going to win this by a landslide. I think that is. I agree. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be close. And again, I agree with you that I don't want it to sound like it's just one is floor raising and the other is ceiling, and like neither one of them can't do both, because I think clearly Shea has the ability to floor raise, especially
he was floor raising this season. He was floor raising this season. Like, if you look at the offense without Shea, like which is
the point that was the point I was going to get to, which is I'm not even trying to cut you off, but we're on the same point. I'm more so disappointed in how J-Dub was offensively for a good portion of the season, and then Chet obviously in and out of the lineup all season long, and even his progression offensively. I think a lot of what Shea did offensively for this team was ridiculous. And to be fair, they would have won games off of defense alone. But to also be fair, they would have lost some impact with Shea not being there defensively. But more than likely, like, this is a team that would have won games off of the defensive merit alone. Like, they would have been able to keep themselves into conversations to at least be like a 45 to 47 win team, hypothetically, if Shea isn't there. I think that they could still kind of uphold that. I just believe that, and this is just, I know like people talk about winning bias, but I do think when you get to the point where you're like 67 wins on a net rating that is on par with some Michael Jordan teams, and then you are like the only player on that roster that can consistently generate offense, not only for yourself, but for everyone else as well. And you're doing even that at a historic level, because it's not like Shea just out there shot chucking. No, he's like converting, I think like 52% from the field or some shit like that. Yeah, 52% from the field, 37.5% from behind the arc. And I think we all know that and obviously he's leading the league in scoring. And we all know that the latter part of the season, I don't know how the fuck he's getting better at the shit, but Shades just like went on this ridiculous run of 30 some plus games. 30 in the last 35 games Shea played, 34 points per game, 7 assists, kept the turnovers down to 2 a game. 34 and 7 assists with only 2 turnovers. Shooting splits of 50, 40, 90. Absurd. And so I think that was the other part of it, is that while the Nuggets were struggling to piece things along, and I get it, they had to rely more on Russ, and I still believe that I'm not like putting that all on the feet of Jokic. Bro, the shit that I saw to Jokic in games in which I know they needed to win defensively was like, bro, I was starting to like really question, like, I know you're getting this shit on the other side, but bro, you legitimately are just like, Alex Sarr should not be having a game like this against you. That's fucking embarrassing. That should not be happening right now. So I don't want to stick on it too much, but I just think the second half of Shea on a roster that was like not as impressive as I thought offensively, while being able to sustain that, a 120 offensive rating is ridiculous. I think there's a lot of things pointing to like Shea's ceiling raising is much more impressive. I don't even know how many teams in NBA history have won 67 plus games without another All NBA caliber player on the roster.
Oh yeah, without an All NBA caliber player.
I think Dirk is the only one in 07. I think Dirk might be the only one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think.
There's not that many teams in general who won 67.
How? I mean, it depends how you feel about 2015 Clay and Draymond. I also think
True. Oh yeah, and then 07, those LeBron years as well. 66 close enough.
I'm trying to think of other high win teams. I don't think the 08 Celtics won 67, but I think you could call
they won
66. Kawhi 2016 maybe, unless you think Lamar.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
Maybe there is. Maybe I'm just.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to think of that off the top of your head, but I think there is. I think you guys make a great. Well, Lowe made the case. John was silent, but I think
I made my case.
Yeah, I think it's a great case for SGA, and I think the SGA case is quite simple. Like, if I'm being honest, I don't think it should be seen as controversial. I could convince myself of SGA because I don't think it's hard to convince myself. Like, if I hold Jokic's defense further against him, I view him as more of a negative than I already do, and then I factor in the 7 played games difference. Like, I think that alone is like enough to make up for the gap that I think there may be offensively. So I'm definitely not sold either way. And I know Shea's gonna win it, and I've said for the past couple months,
yeah,
Shea's gonna be closer to winning this unanimously than he is to losing it. That's how easy I think he's gonna win the award. So this is definitely not me saying that Jokic is gonna win. It's just if I had a vote.
It's so crazy. Like, and shout out to Nikola Jokic, because this is the level of season you have to beat out a player like Nikola Jokic. Like, Jokic he's been overshadowing a lot of really good seasons. Like, first part of the season, Joel Embiid last year, 35 points per game on almost 50, 40, 90 shooting splits. He was phenomenal before he got hurt. Giannis Antetokounmpo in these past years has been phenomenal. SGA had a really good MVP case last year. Luka Doncic had a really good MVP case last year. Like, if this is the level that you're going to have to play at to overshadow a Jokic MVP, like that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, we're watching, and I've been very consistent on this. Shea is an all-time player peaking right in front of our eyes. I don't need to wait for no postseason championship, whatever the case. If I see an all-time player, I can point it out. I'm sorry, I don't need to see a championship to substantiate that claim. It's the same reason why when Lowe was on PC long time ago, we were the only ones who were willing to acknowledge that Jokic was an all-time great player, because other people hadn't seen them win a championship, so all of a sudden he was an all-time great. And then he wins. And like, I always thought Jokic was the best in the world. Okay, I
that's back when I was a viewer.
Yeah, I guess I've been arguing myself for 2 years trying to make the claim he's the best in the world, but apparently you always thought it. Interesting. So definitely think Shea's an all-time player.
And somehow the Lakers series of all series, which I think was genuinely his worst one. Oh, now I see it. I'm like, holy fuck!
His worst playmaking series, but all of a sudden that's when you see it. It's like, okay, interesting. Before we get out of here, we do have 3 more super chats. We want to appreciate
W holes.
Yeah, I get to these super chats. Teddy Hart again. This is, I think, his 3rd super chat. He said, "Who's you guys' offensive player of the year?" Should be a real thing by now. So if we just take defense out of the equation, who's been the best offensive player in the league?
Well, that's clearly Jokic.
Yes, Jokic.
I got Jokic. Yeah, I got Jokic. And then 10 Man said Swipovich said Jokic was on D though. I mean, Swipovich be saying some things. And shout out to Swap.
Yeah. Shout out to Swap.
He's been actually so bad it's been disappointing to it's just bad.
And I'm not expecting all defensive caliber defense from Jokic. I'm expecting him to be a neutral, not to be a
because last season he was viable. Last season he was solid on defense. 23, I think he was solid on defense, minus like a little stretch in March. Like I think he was solid on defense. This year has just been a regression to like 2021. Like
it's been bad. Yeah.
That's definitely a big thing holding, I think, Jokic back for a lot of people in the conversation. I think that's valid. And then final super chat from Akeem Brian Akeem said, Mars, what is the difference between the best in the world and the best performer between 06, 08, and 17 to 19 and Harden when the best performer for 2 of those seasons?
You kind of already explained this, like LeBron and Curry.
Yeah, I think you can play better than someone in the regular season, but not be an overall better player. Because I think better player is based on the skill set, what you can bring to the table. The best performer is based on like tangible, like real value that you brought during that season. I think James Harden was more valuable during the regular season than guys like LeBron in like 2019, 2018, or whatever the case. That doesn't mean he was a better player. And I also think this is real quick tangent. I think when I judge who the better player is, I'm not too worried about who plays better season to season. Like LeBron to me was the best player in the world from 09 to 2018, but I don't think he played the best in the regular season all of those years. But when it comes down to evaluating the value in which you're bringing every season, I do think it's relevant who played better during those seasons. For example, 2018, in my opinion, James Harden was the best player in the regular season, but I think LeBron James was the best player in the world. But if I'm ranking LeBron James' career and his value, I can't just give him, he was providing best in the world value in 2018 when he wasn't, in my opinion, because James Harden was providing more value during the regular season. So if I'm looking at your career value from a value standpoint, I do think being the best performer during the season is relevant. But if I'm looking at it in just how good of a player were you, you can have seasons where you aren't providing the most value and it doesn't really hurt your standing. So that's just a thought process I'm having. I have to really hash it out to be well thought out about it. But that's something I'm just thinking about from time to time. And then nonchalant individual, real quick. Rank them 1 through 3. Jokic, Giannis, and SGA. Best player, basically. So who's the 3 best players in the world? What order?
Jokic. I'm not gonna lie, Giannis and SGA has really became a conversation. Like I could hear someone out for SGA, but I also could hear someone out for Giannis. And
if you guys are so concerned about Jokic's defense, why is he a definitive number 1 for you guys?
I don't think this is really who he is as a defender. I refuse to believe this motherfucker just regret. There's no way he just got this bad. He went back to a 2. Like he hasn't been this bad in a very long time. I just can't.
So you think it's kind of to the point I was just making that?
Yeah, he's
not providing that value.
He's just not providing the value.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, okay. I've seen Jokic be a part of a top tier defense in the playoffs. I'm still of the belief that he can be involved in a top tier defense. Some of it's personnel, some of it's him as well. But yeah, I do also think that Nikola Jokic has a peak offensively that I don't think SGA and Giannis can lead their teams to. Just like the factor of being able to move off the ball, being able to be such a quick decision maker like Jokic is, and being efficient almost all around the floor. And yeah, Jokic would be number one for me, but out of Giannis and SGA, like I think SGA has played better this season. You can argue last season as well. But then again, Giannis has been so great these past 2 years as well, to where it's like. And then I also do think SGA's free throws can be very valuable. The fact that SGA is going to get the most out of every single offensive possession, where I do think Giannis is letting defenses off the hook with a three here and there, or running away from free throw lines. And then you could take Giannis out the game by fouling him as well, because sometimes he's actively avoiding the free throw line. I'm actually going to go SGA at number 2. I'm actually going to go SGA.
I got Jokic, Giannis, and SGA. The mid-range shooting for Giannis, to me, I'll put respect on it.
I hope that sustains in the playoffs, and I hope Giannis is also. I just want to see him healthy in the postseason. Win, lose, or draw, I want to see him healthy in the postseason.
Yeah.
God damn, nonchalant individual. Now he wants us to rank the top 6. Everyone 100% healthy. Okay, well, those
everyone 100% healthy.
100% healthy.
So Luka.
Yeah, Luka 4th. Luka
4th. You got Shea above. You got Shea above Luka nowadays. Assuming Luka's 100% healthy.
That's still tough, man. Because now I gotta re-rank my top 3. Because I'm still not ready to. Damn.
When the last time we've seen healthy Luka though? Let's be honest. 100% healthy.
Last year,
because it was in the postseason.
Yeah, last year before the playoffs.
Yeah.
So like February-ish.
Oh, we forgetting Embiid.
Embiid is not in these talks. Sorry to say.
Hey, who's going top 6 talks?
No, top 6. But I'm talking about these top 3, 4 talks. He's not in these talks.
Embiid's not in top 4 talks. 100% healthy.
Bro, Shay's past him, brother. I'm sorry to tell you. Shay's past him, brother.
Morris.
I don't have an order for you. I know the top 6 is some assortment of Giannis, Jokic, Luka, SGA, Tatum, and Embiid. That's the 6.
That's the 6.
You think Tatum is top 6 when everyone is healthy?
Who would I mean, I think he's probably better than KD at this point. Steph, I would entertain.
You need to put
Kawhi. I would entertain.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie.
Kawhi, I would entertain because Kawhi playing defense too.
Kawhi is. I ain't gonna lie. That's why
I
was
AD
like,
is in this conversation as well.
God damn, the league's talented. Oh
yeah,
my God.
The league.
Yeah, you know what?
You haven't said LeBron yet.
Top 5. I got
you ain't said LeBron yet.
SGA and Embiid. That's the 5. I don't know who else comes after that. Those 5.
I'm okay with those 5. It's just that.
Yeah, you guys.
Wemby was making a case before he went down.
Oh man!
I forgot how good the league is.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Tatum. I fuck with Tatum.
I forgot how good the league is. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Because
those are my 5. I don't know.
Are we basing this the best version of Tatum?
Yeah.
I think this is the best version.
I think there's healthy stretches this year from LeBron and AD that look better than this version of Tatum.
I mean, but there's stretches of Tatum that look better than them too. If we talking about stretches, Tatum came into the season like 40% of pull-up threes.
Guys,
I'm not going to disrespect to early season Tatum.
I feel like that was like a smaller sample size than you think, though.
Maybe like 11 games, maybe.
Oh no, we're not doing 11. 11 is fucking ridiculous. LeBron got like 25. LeBron got a good like a. Really,
how long
really
are AD stretches?
Post that Miami game, AD was on some shit, boy.
I don't know. Why is everyone filing him with Superchats now? God damn. Cujo said, is Shay's 3-point shooting improvement not as valuable as Giannis' midi improvement? Just curious. Yeah, what's more valuable to you? Giannis' midi improving or Shea being a viable 3-point shooter?
To be completely fair, I think it is Shay's pull-up 3-point shooting.
I think it's Giannis's.
I would say, yeah, I would definitely say Shea. I mean, Giannis is, and we talked about this earlier, Mars.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely talked about this earlier. Giannis, even if he is like a really good mid range shooter, like teams are
Yeah,
extremely worried about
respectfully,
his
no one
ability.
cares. Like, I don't know how else
Yeah,
to put it.
like teams are definitely going to be guarding him around the rim more than they would be like, okay, if you're going to take 10 mid-range shots, even if you make 6 of them, we stopped you from going to the rim. Like, we'll live with that. We'll give you a pat on the back and you can head to the locker when you made 6 out of 10 mid-range shots. I
But
think
is it?
SGA,
I don't want to cut you, but I want to say I think that's the reason why. The only reason why I say it is because Shea isn't shooting well enough from. I know that's a hypothetical, the 6, but I don't think Shea is shooting well enough from 3 to where he's been in the defense so much so that like teams are just like drawing all the way out there. Because if we're just talking about the value of like making the threes, I think I'm gonna go with Giannis because
the value of making the threes, 37% is better than 45% from midi.
No. That's what I'm saying is, but I think the value of Giannis is because how much teams. I guess it just depends on how you feel. Do teams commit more to stopping Giannis getting to the getting to the lane, or do they stop Shea more? How much commitment does teams make? Because I think teams still commit more to trying to stop Giannis.
I mean, at the rim, yeah, but I think I'm at the point where, and I'm kind of with John D here. Well, John D's with me because I said this first. Giannis mid-range shots are never gonna force an overreaction from the defense, and this isn't like a knock on him. He's just so dominant downhill that a team's never gonna like. He's gonna walk into mid-range jumpers, and if he makes 50% of them, which is an elite clip for a mid-range jumper, you look at it as, well, he didn't get to the rim. Good work. We didn't foul him. Good work. Whereas like a Shea 3, I think, and it's hard to dissect because like if Shea's shooting pull-up threes out of pick and roll, teams are going under because he's the most dangerous driver in the league. But then I'm also watching teams blitz pick and rolls, but are they blitzing him because he's a dangerous pull-up threat, or is it because he's so dangerous navigating safe recovery? So it's like Shea's bending defenses more from the perimeter than Giannis is. But is Shea bending defenses more from the perimeter because of his pull-up 3 threat? I don't think so. But how do I decipher what's his pull-up 3 threat versus what's just overall threat?
What is his pull-up 3 this season?
Shea is shooting. Bear with me. I'm gonna have to look this up. On the season, I'd assume it's probably around like 35, but I know since January it's been way better. Yeah. But I can't find since January data, unfortunately. Actually, I might be able to. Shea this season is shooting. Where are we? Goddamn.
He has 35 on pull-up jump shots from 3.
Thank you. Okay, 35% pull-up
for this season.
And Giannis is like 45% from mid-range.
Yeah.
So on like a points per possession basis, Shea's pull-up 3 is obviously more valuable. And in terms of defensive reaction, I could argue it also is. So yeah, I'm going with Shea's 3 personally, but I'm also just like,
since January it's 38.5.
Like that's a lead.
Well, when you get to that level, I agree with you. But I don't know. I kind of feel like the only reason why is because I think the closer that Giannis can, because it's not just Giannis post ups. I mean, on middies, it's specifically post ups as well. And so, giving just as many tools as possible to Giannis, I think that the idea, I just feel like it's more demoralizing when I see Giannis making fucking middies. Is like, fuck, bro. I don't know. Like at that point, like, what do you want me to fucking do? Shea, I feel that you can definitely get that way as well. But it's like, bro, the more I know for a fact, the more I have to even dare think about committing to Giannis as a mid-range jump shot shooter. I just feel like there's more good offense going to be yielding from that than the other way around. Because I do think teams are starting to double Giannis a little bit more in the post.
Oh, but I spoke about that. They need to stop doing that. That's where I'm at. They need to just stop. But if they to be fair,
they may not be. They did. Let me not may. They're definitely not fucking doubling him because of fucking mid-range jump shots. But I'm just saying, if that continues to progress, or even if they say, you know, fuck it, we'll just let it go. I feel like those wiry, flexible defenders that they throw at him and they get away with it a lot of times because he's a bad mid-range shooter. If he just starts muscling his way and just start knocking down mids, then at that point, I think there's like a lot of teams that were like, oh, fuck, at that point, we just don't.
Yeah,
we
there's just no
genuinely
answer.
don't have an answer at that point. We just don't fucking have an
Yeah,
answer.
I get you. These guys are two of the most unstoppable scorers, offensive players.
Yeah.
Nonchalant individual said he thinks the short fadeaway middies from Giannis are more valuable than SGA's pull-up threes, but those 18-foot pull-up middies, they don't move me at all.
I'm not talking about those awkward ass.
Yeah, the deep.
No, I'm not talking about that. No.
But I mean, for like, because I looked this up earlier when we was going to talk about Giannis. He's shooting better on the deep twos than he is on the short ones.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that.
He's shooting 40% on short mid-range shots and 47% on long mid-range shots. And the volume is he's actually taking more long mids. So like,
we're not talking about that shit. No, we're not.
The fact that he's not getting to that floater range consistently and knocking them down, like he's like 42% on floaters this season, like 41% on hooks, blah blah blah. Like those close intermediate shots, those would move me more than him making these deep pull-up twos. Like, I'm sorry, you're not Kevin Durant. Like, I'm just not ultimately moved by that. I do think you get credit for being able to knock them down, but like it's just they're like the least valuable shots in the league, so it's just I'm not as moved. And then we've got MP13, Jason Tatum super chat, said we're not counting the first 2 months of Tatum because every season for the first 2 months he's shooting mids, threes, and some post touches, and then he reverts to the bad pull-up 3-shot diet every year. That does seem to be the story of Jason Tatum. It's like every year he comes in, you're seeing that face-up, post-up bag. I remember when Jason Tatum fans were victory lapping that he was the most efficient isolation scorer in the league for like the first 20 games.
Oh yeah, you saw that shit. They were like, no, we told Chill not to use the numbers. He was like, use eye test, and that's why I'm like, no, let him use the numbers. I'm like, oh my.
Haven't heard them numbers in a minute since Jason Tatum just fell down.
I can't believe people genuinely trying to convince us that he's a better ISO scorer than Shea. Like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, so I haven't heard those numbers in a minute. So that reverting to the bad habits, I do think is a consistent theme of Jason Tatum. But it is what it is. And then final super chat from said, can we separate floor raisers, ceiling raisers from team success? You can't say Giannis or Jokic can't be ceiling raisers because their team sucks. Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make with my MVP stuff. Thank you for that, Far. That does bring us to the end of the show. 2 hours 50. Oh my Jesus Christ. Nonchalant individual. He said the percentage is a bit skewed because it's mainly taken down by those dumbass one-handed floater push shots. Giannis is shooting like 42% on phase, to be fair. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Those floater stuff, that's why I actually want him to get better. He improves the floater push shots. That's what I'll be moved by. That's what I think will really like force defenses to react and commit. Okay, now we are at the end. Is there anything, Lo, you want to say before we get out of here? I mean, I'm sure everyone knows where to find you, but just in case, where can everyone find you? All of that good stuff.
No, what I want to say, I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity, man, to share this amazing platform, man. Not too many people giving me platforms anymore, man. And I just want to appreciate you and all the things in which you do. And hopefully one day I get on Nerd Sesh. You know, I've been begging for a while now, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's Nerd Sesh is limited to like real ball knowers. So this is your this is like your preliminary round. If you've done a good job here, they might reach out to you. You know we'll see. If you don't get a reach out, it's probably because of some of the nonsense you said earlier.
Oh man,
about Austin Reeves, JJ Redick, Coach of the Year, nonsense. So, you know, like
I never said he's supposed. I said Kenny Atkinson. I just said
Anthony Black, most improved. You know, no, 6 man of the year. Anthony Black, 6 man of the year. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're not gonna rock with that decision.
Real ball knowers know. Real ball.
But anyway, where can the people find you at? Where I know you're all over the place.
It's just low post, Legend of Winning on Twitter, Legend of Winning on Playback. You know, y'all know where to find me, bro. Come on, dog.
There you go. Yeah, everyone does, but I got out like some people only watching for me. 500 people in here, by the way. John D,
at the most
that we've ever had? No.
The Luka trade.
We had 1,000. Yeah, when Luka traded, we had 1,000. So you like half as important.
Wait, as but outside of Luka trade,
I want to say when we did our greatest peaks episode with Nerd Sesh, I want to say we had about 600 in here live. But you close. You're not too bad.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry. Yeah, you decent. You know.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry. We'll get you. Well, I'll make sure I get there. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, maybe. John D, where can everyone find you?
You guys can find me over at the Buzzer Sportsman. The playoffs is starting, so that means we are going to be ramping things up, especially with the season coming to a close. The draft content is going to amplify a lot more. We're going to double it. We're going to get back to 5 to 6 uploads every single week. Don't forget, I am right back on that, especially since the playoffs are coming back. So looking forward to putting out a lot of takes and things of that nature. So you guys can definitely find me there. And before I finish this up, it's crazy that I used to watch YouTube on Player's Choice, and now, I'm on the same screen as you guys. I think that's pretty cool. So
yeah, notice how he said, us too. That means I got mentioned too. Yeah, it's not just about love.
Yeah, that's pretty,
people were watching me. Yeah, people watching me.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I will say that. Yeah, that is pretty cool. So
I remember seeing a few years ago Lowe making a video hating on Steve Nash. That's when I knew he won a real ball no. Talking about Steve Nash, they were the Suns rigged the system for Steve.
That's
Nash.
actually a fact. It's actually a fact. That's the crazy part.
Fact. But I knew he was a hater. So that's cool. Absolutely true. You just didn't need to bring it up. But anyway, yeah, you can find me here, obviously, Players Choice Monday through Friday. I'm also going to be on the PCL tomorrow, the championship round, me against ROTY.
Oh, wow.
The third place round will also be Chill versus Jordan, but the real heavyweight matchup, me against ROTY will be, I want to say 2:40 Eastern is the time they gave me, 2:30 Eastern, something like that. So tap into that. That should be interesting. Looking to retain my crown as the winner. Go back to back before I retire. But that is where you can find me. Lowe already said where you can find him. John D said where you can find him. So thank you guys for watching. Like the video. Leave a comment on who you'd have for each awards. I'm already expecting the comments screaming racism. Why John D and Lowe didn't have Jokic as the MVP. I've accepted that. Did you know that videos get like majorly disliked when you don't have Jokic as the MVP?
Yeah,
really?
Wow. Yeah, so
even,
fuck you guys for getting my video disliked.
Even though I was on the bandwagon in the early stages after Mars about praising Jokic and apparently slobbering him.
Yeah, so I'm already prepared for the dislikes this video is going to have. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate everyone who tapped in. Subscribe to the channel, all of that good stuff. And we will see you when we see you. Merry Christmas.